Hey, Internet. Omega from Beyond the Cycle of Creation and Destruction here. We're back with another Best of compilation. This one's for Lostbelt 4. As always, this is compiled from a couple of episodes. We're pretty good at the 2-episode scheme now. But you'll hear some transitions here and there. I originally warned about sudden shifts, but then I put audio inserts to do the transitions, so you'll know when we're transitioning. Also, as always, it's pretty longo bongo, but hopefully a little bit more organized than previous episodes. Anyway, fun fact, these episodes are just a little under 2 years old. How time flies. In case you couldn't guess by the fact that Lostbelt 6 is about to come out finally in NA. But yeah, that's where we are. And as always, stay tuned to the end for more info and a word to our patrons. Thanks, everybody. See you in the next cycle.
So with that, we only have a couple things left over. One of being our Lostbelt 4 initial thoughts. Yeah, starting off, if there's something I do want to say is, I do appreciate that they soft confirm OQ.
Yeah.
In these opening things. They don't necessarily go out of their way to say who and what, but they do imply heavily that they might be dealing with some things, especially Goldorf. You know, talking about his weight.
Yeah, so the Lostbelt 4 begins not with like a soft intro like we've gotten, but with a full-blown last time on. Shout out to them, by the way. I remember the story pretty well, but some people might not, because it's been a while. And at the end of this, because they only summarize Lostbelt 1 and 2, you turn to Sion and are like, what about China and the other stuff that happened? And she's like, it doesn't matter.
It just happened.
But they do name drop Gordolf's big adventure, and later when we meet a certain other character, they talk about him needing to lose weight. So, yes, they very strongly hint that OQ did happen and is relevant, and they don't write out Lostbelt 3. They're just like, it's not really relevant to what's happening right now.
Yeah. But apparently it's been actually like 3 months since the event of the China Lostbelt, because things happened and there were delays. But yeah. Here we are. They explained that we need to go to India not necessarily because we need to kick the Lostbelt's butt, which we do, but because there's something that the captain needs there.
Yes. Also, by the way, if you can't figure out who the fucking captain is, read more.
It's
really obvious at this point. The Aranax phantasm. Oh man. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, there's the Aranax device has to go with us because we need to make the Shadow Border seaworthy. Is basically the point, because the 5th Lostbelt is where we're trying to go tactically, because that's where Wodaime is, and it's a big deal. But the Shadow Border, while it can survive a trip in the ocean, as we saw at the end of Lostbelt 2, it is not fully amphibious. It is not ocean-going.
And if we try to make it so, we would need a lot more people, which we don't have.
Yes, we would need more staff and more resources, which is something that they go out of their way to emphasize early that Chaldea 2 has a manpower problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, they do make sure to once again remind us that the oceans of Lostbelt 5 are full of ether and full of horrible, gribbly, phantasmal monsters.
Here be dragons.
Literally? I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out. So, with that, we gotta go to India, and, as we're there, we might as well, boop it in the snoot.
Yes.
So here's something I do find interesting. They talk about this, left and right. So I do think this was actually a question at some point, but they actually do flat out say it, that apparently Da Vinci Small is technically a pseudo-servant.
Yes, and I think that makes sense now that they've said it. The idea is not that she is like a new summon of Da Vinci Original. She is a body that Da Vinci Original created and then basically dubbed all her heroic spirit stuff into.
Yeah.
Also, they reference her roller skates that we won't see until she gets summoned later.
I do like how it actually does make the roller skate sound effects. You're like, did she just roller skate off? Just like, what?
Like, you just be like, where did she get fucking roller skates? Because Da Vinci, by the way, passes out standing up.
Yes. I am concerned.
At first I thought it was actually before the time we had to leave. I was like, you better pick up this child and put her in bed. But it was like, no, Da Vinci, it's time to wake up. And she's like, oh, I guess I was sleep standing. Anyway, bye! He leads away. Neja drops that she and Da Vinci Small are very similar instances, once again kind of talking about how, the new Da Vinci is a construct, basically. We also get another interesting setup rule. If we're going to do a dive in the Shadow Border, we can only carry 3 servants max out and about. not counting for like Da Vinci in the pod. So we only bring. Actually, I guess that doesn't count Sherlock as well. We technically have like 5 on board.
Well, I think they mean like maybe in the Lostbelt for like whatever reason.
There's an energy limitation that they can't compensate for because apparently the Shadow Border is very finicky, right? It's very technical. So we're limited to 3 active servants that we can bring with us, which means because Captain needs to go with us to secure the Aranax device, which is loaded in the Shadow Border, we can only bring Nezha and Mash, and we have to summon everybody else on site.
Yeah.
So that gives us our whole big setup and stuff. Why we're going here. Very clear mission goals. We arrive without too much trouble. We have a little bit of preamble.
Yeah, actually, I found that interesting. It was literally, all right, we're leaving for India. A screen wipe. All right, we have arrived in India. I was like, okay, cool. There was literally no fuss.
We're smoothing things out. We've got a process now. It's great. Good job. We have the preamble. We talk about what our goals are. We talk about what people can see. The interesting thing we immediately note that is good for a first impression is that unlike some of our other Lost Belts, the tree's just fucking there. Thank God for once. Also, there's a weird cube thing that nobody can scan. It's there, but it's not there. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
I thought it was actually going to maybe look like a certain moon thing, but it does not look like exactly like a moon thing. So I was like, oh, okay. But we will see.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see what happens there later. But yes, that's clearly an important thing. And then we do the whole rigmarole. The captain explains that we do have to cut down the tree because of the way Lost Belts work, he can't activate the Aranax device until we remove the tree and basically reset things because it is geographically linked. So he has to be in India to activate it, but because this is not regular India, it's jammed, basically.
That is something that our servants didn't know because we actually do get our summon on pretty quick, and shocking no bud, we summon probably one of the 2 biggest heroes.
Yeah, no, you want to talk about fucking entrances and allies. We do the whole chant and we whistle up a couple of servants. Who shows up but Karna and Rama, who are, talking about servant tiers, probably some of the highest rated servants you could whistle up in India.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I do want to shout this out. I do remember Karna's personality because, Karna's a good boy, but I forgot how kingly fucking Rama is because I mostly remember him being in a sack in America.
You remember him mostly being very cross.
Yeah. But no, he's a very proud individual. He's like, yes, I'm awesome. I'm a king. Where's my wife?
And then he's like, who is this large man and why is he talking to me so condescendingly? And you're like, don't worry about it, my king. It's no problem. It's no problem at all. And he's like, very well, I shall let this pass once. That said, Rama does have, like, big, like, boyish king vibes. Like, he's not, like, stately or anything. He's like,
Jinako literally calls him a Shota king. They literally use the term Shota. So I'm like,
has some great dialogue. We'll talk about that later, because that comes a little bit later. I think the big thing is that the captain says that he has to stay behind to do some pre-prep. He also complained about the fucking cushions. Again, if you know who the captain is, that makes perfect fucking sense.
He was a little anal retentive.
The thing.
Yeah.
Which slightly incenses Da Vinci, because, the great Leonardo da Vinci is not thinking about your pathetic seat cushions.
Well, also, time and resources.
Yeah.
This thing was literally built on the...
Like, if you look at, like, Da Vinci's notebooks, that makes sense, though. Like, Leonardo da Vinci was a big picture guy. He was thinking about, like, shit like tanks and ornithopters. Not necessarily, how will you be comfortable in the ornithopter? No, he was trying to invent a fucking flying machine.
It's like, function first, then form.
As seen by the Bastillon. But yeah, so, I'm sure that in no way will we have the 2 constantly being catty as we call back to base. We set out. We are joined once again by Nezha, because by permanent Chaldea Nezha. We do know that there's some interesting things about this Lostbelt. While on the one hand, it's very habitable and very pretty, at least when we first get there. Nezha, Rama, and Karna all note that there's some kind of weird presence there, which, like, makes them feel lonely and also depresses their powers, which you see referenced by this very annoying all-card type buff.
Okay, so here's the thing that bugs me about the all-card debuff, is that on my screen, it just shows the quick symbol.
Yeah,
that confused me for a second.
Quick one, but if you look at your card deck, it's all of them. And by the way, kids, this is why none of your servants are hitting as hard as you think they are.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, so as a mechanic, it's a good way to, like, do these, like, lower HP pools and still, like, prevent you from stomping everything. Like how when you played Salem, your levels were halved.
Yeah.
But also it has definitely been me going, like, wow, I really thought that my, level 90 Hokusai or my level 90 Raikou should be cleaning up this wave faster. So it hurts a little bit, but it's not a big deal because the enemies are pretty normal,
Yeah, so I haven't had necessarily any problems on that. But we do the usual Lostbelt thing is we find a camp, we walk around, we find people. Oh no, these people are in danger.
One of them is adorable and innocent.
And has a dog. Orc. The other one, I just want to slap. Fuck you. Yeah,
but then we run into the... I love how... I don't know necessarily like why or how they came to this conclusion, but I love that the writers of every Lostbelt know that after we got out of our initial like, oh shit, if we destroy the Lostbelt everybody dies thing, that they have to like right away establish how the Lostbelt is a fucked up place we don't want to stay. Because on the one hand it's like, man, this place is really pretty, and then like 5 minutes in they're like, oh yeah, there are these horrible demon crocodiles that eat people and your only defense is to pray. And we're like, wow, that's pretty fucked up. Something is wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
We key that off immediately. There are also these weird divine beasts. Then we...
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking hashtag Shishi Wong wasn't wrong.
And then in classical fashion for us, we immediately get thrown out of town.
Yep.
There's a fat mayor who has his own sprite, and he's like, how dare you kill the sacred beasts and also these demon crocodiles? You are clearly heretics. Get the fuck out of my town. And even though, he's talking to Rama and Karna, we're like, we better leave. Even though, we could boop that man's... Mash could boop that fat man's snoot pretty hard. We don't need any help, but, we don't want to cause no trouble. In the words of Jackie Chan. Mm-hmm. So, next step is leave, go to a mountain, because we've heard that there's another god there, because that's the other thing we get introduced to, is the villagers say they only have one god, which is really weird because we're in India. And Hinduism is known for having a fuck ton of gods.
I think they actually say Hindu pantheon is like the hugest.
Yes, it's. I believe it is one of the largest in the world. So we've heard rumors because we talk a little bit to the girl overnight. She talks about the mountain where they say there could have been a god. This is where we get introduced to Ganesha, Jinako, which is an immediate gold mine.
Yes, I love her. I love her dialogue so much. Also, shout out that Karna was so shocked that he actually recognized her for a second.
Yes. I tried to say her name, but as we know, because the summon is fucked, which I explained all this in my wanted video, but this is seen in the dialogue. Ganesha's pseudoing into Jinako is not standard, so it's a little goofed up. She just introduces herself as Ganesha, and her regular name can't be perceived or whatever. But Karna recognizes her, and he's like, "This is fine. Everything's fine." And manages to guilt trip her into joining you. I thought for a second there when they started talking about dumplings and food, we were gonna do the classic Gordel fast one, and he was going to offer to cook, maybe later.
I do want to note that apparently Ganesha found Jinako through a devilish influence. I'm just all like, baby?
Allegedly. I think Jinako phrased it as, it's possible it was done through a devilish intermediary. This is a thing that's never really cleared up in the text, why Ganesha is a moon cancer. There's a couple of hints that it could have been through BB somehow, but it's not explicitly stated yet.
Well, again, like I said, Ganesha
Ganesha is not a moon deity.
No, he has a beef with the moon, literally.
No,
like, fuck you, moon!
Yeah, I talked about this in Wanted as well, but basically, depending on the telling, at one point, Ganesha fell over and the moon laughed at him, and he was like, fuck you, moon! It's literally Piccolo in that one clip from TNT Moon! And then he broke off his tusk and threw it in the moon, and that's why you can see the moon is fucked up from Earth. Also, by the way, don't look at the moon on Ganesha's holiday day. It's bad luck. It's very bad luck.
Well, when's Ganesha's holiday day? I'll fucking note that.
Don't remember, but it's a major festival. But yeah, no, it's bad luck on Ganesha's festival day to look at the moon, otherwise you'll be cursed. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of explanation for why is moon cancer. But no, there's a lot of good stuff. The dialogue as a statue is great, and then her dialogue coming out of the statue is great. She totally has a fucking switch in there. It's great.
By the way, Ganesha Chaturthi, I can't pronounce it, is Friday, September 10th.
All right, everybody put that down in your calendars. It's very important.
Very important.
Look at the moon. Or you'll be cursed with min rolls, obviously. But yeah, so that's just, it's a great character that gets introduced early, which is good, because I guess if you're not very far, this is a semi-spoiler, but it happens so soon that it's not really, because man, does Neja get warped hard.
Yeah, oh my, this actually upset me a little bit.
It was... Well, one thing, they spend way too much time being like, man, Neja, you're a great friend. I'm glad you're here. And I'm just like... also, it's fast. Neja goes from nobody could match my mobility in the sky to shit, it's me, but evil in like 5 seconds.
And dies.
And his job's out. And I'm like, wow, damn, that is...
It was harsh. Very, very harsh. Because like I said, like I've enjoyed, because Neja's been here for a while.
Yeah.
And...
I mean,
because
acts that'll obviously be explained later. We're only on section 4. We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably because it's Lostbelt fucking servant Neja. Or something like that.
Keeping in mind that this is explicitly stated that Neja's current body is a construct, so we'll see how it shakes out. But after a pretty tough fight, thank you, Team Tentacle.
I think I just bullied her with comma. I know that makes no sense, but it worked.
I mean, Zerkers.
Yeah.
I used Team Tentacle, but it got a little dicey because, boy howdy, the reduced damage, and that was a big chunky HP bar. I had to eat an NP, but it was okay. We got through. Also, yes, when I had to fight Ganesha, I was like, hey, Rock, you want to wrestle? As I do, in fact, own Summer Martha, Samba Cats, Estrella.
Again, our aggressive rulers seem to have a fucking theme here.
And no, there is nothing funnier than seeing Estrella suplex an elephant statue. Also, technically, we mentioned it before, but this is also when we get our first glimpse of Scandinavia peppercino. Spicy peppers.
I love this man.
Yes, immediately he pops in. You get a perfect first impression. They talk about, being so smug and cool and androgynous, and he's just like, hey, what's up, guys? What's the haps? How you doing, Mashy? You doing okay? Anyway, I gotta run, because there's a scary spear lady after me. Like, just bugs the fuck out after Karna catches him. Mm-hmm. This kind of gives you the hint that not everything is okay in the state of Lostbelt 4, as the Cryptor is running around in the foothills hiding from people. Gee, I wonder if something has gone horribly wrong with this plan, as has happened literally every Lostbelt.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, no, every single fucking time, the Lostbelt King is like, nah, I'm not about that life.
Like, the one that worked best was, I would say, Ophelia and Skahak-Skadi.
Yeah, but still...
that still got fucked up because of outside influences, right?
Not even. Skahak-Skadi was like, no, I'm not gonna fuck with you, I love them. They're great.
Well, Skahak-Skadi was not about getting rid of us, right? But
yeah.
she was still perfectly okay with what Ophelia said about, like, hiding the tree and stuff and growing the Lostbelt. The only thing that fucked up is when Surtur got unsealed. That really shenanigans everything. Lostbelt 1, Kadok was literally trying to replace his Lostbelt King with Anastasia, and in Lostbelt 3 was the whole thing. So many things were wrong with that one. But yeah, so I suspect not everything is going as planned, and I'm beginning to suspect that this will be true of probably literally every Lostbelt. If there's one Lostbelt that's not true of, it may be 5. Just because I would believe that is the standout, that Kadok is Wodaime is the only one who has things under control. Like he's the only one who set up this plan and has it work as planned. But we'll see. Also, I don't know. It could be fucked up in all kinds of new ways. Yeah. So Pepe's wandering around and then immediately skedaddles. Mm-hmm. But also, you receive some mysterious sus buffs in that next fight.
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot about that.
And they do that very keen camera thing of, like, zooming in on him slightly, like he's still hanging around. But yeah, so, all in all, like, there's a pretty interesting setup. We kind of glossed over it because we're not doing a full summary, but the thing that is mentioned is that the yugas, which are actually explained, thank God, the way this Lostbelt is functioning is that the ages of Hindu cycle, because Hinduism is very big on cycles, are super sped up, as opposed to lasting, like, hundreds of years or thousands of years. They're lasting, like, literal days.
It's 4, 3, 2, 1. So...
Yeah, I believe so. It's the cycle of a week that goes through all 4. So, as far as I got was, and Lucky got as well, is the Kali Yuga starts, and shit's fucked up. 10 days, okay, 10 days.
Yep, and at the end of this, everyone fucking dies! And if God likes you, you get to come back.
You get reincarnated. But if you're shown to be impure and not praying hard enough and get eaten by an evil space crocodile, you're dead. Yeah, so shit's fucked up, and I'm sure we're gonna see more fucked up shit once the world resets. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that works as well. It seems like it kind of doesn't work, because the town gets progressively more and more fucked up. Like, when we first roll into town, it's middling, and Ganesha says that it looked pretty fine when she was there, like, a day earlier, but then when you come back the second time, the town is really fucked.
Like, if I understand this, like, well, you can understand why this place got pruned, because if this just keeps happening, eventually there's just going to be no people left.
Yes, it's gonna reduce humanity to such a state that they can't continue. Even though what it seems like is very clearly because hey, Lucky and I are both past the point where we get Kona Sky's we get Tomovich's little cameo. She's got a new outfit. It's great.
She seems to be slightly bothered that we know her now.
And she says she feels off ever since she was put through Shin Shi-Wang's torture chamber. She doesn't phrase it like that, but listen, girl, I understand. If I was attacked with bone saws and dentist tools, I would probably be having a bad day too. But she does talk about how the god here is a fanatic who's trying to only find virtuous people. So presumably these criteria get more and more strict until nobody is virtuous enough and there's suddenly no more humans. Yeah. Which is probably why, like we said, this timeline got pruned. So it's interesting to kind of compare this, idyllic paradise to this kind of fucked up accelerated backdrop. Yeah, I will admit, Axe is asking a lot of clarifying questions. It's just just read. You'll get there later. You'll figure it out. Because we're not very far, but a lot of this early stuff is explained. And like I said, there is literally, I do appreciate this, FGO. I do appreciate that they have a literal moment where Sion is like, okay, everybody, we've talked about Yugas. Do we need a recap? You can say, I do know, but we should recap just to be safe. Or you can be like, I don't know. And I think I generally had an idea, but I said I don't know anyway. And they explain them. It's good. It's a great bit of exposition. Axe, you're not good at wisecracks. Nowhere ipsum. Know thyself. But mechanics-wise, other than the card debuff thing being a little annoying, but not world-ending, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I wouldn't necessarily have. I wouldn't say I've definitely had a fight that I've had to start over. Like I said, I've been bringing a lot.
It hasn't ruined any fights for me, but it definitely makes you take maybe a couple extra turns, which is okay. We're in Lostbelt 4,
That's fine.
I prefer it to enemies being big chungo chicken soup, like Oniland, for instance.
Yeah.
But we have two systems that are being prevalent. One is brand new, and the other is recently popularized, which this Lostbelt embraces wholeheartedly. The first is the fucking CE on support servants.
Yep.
Oh, holy shit! Thank you so much, FGO. That's just. It's shocking what 50% NP starting and 50% NP gain does for servants who have 10-10-10 skills in NP4. It's so good. Yeah, no, it makes everything go faster and makes you feel okay actually using story supports.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because a lot of these servants so far have batteries. I appreciate they let us cycle out the order when they gave us that one fight that was all story support, when you had to fight with just your mash and then the 3 story supports. You could move them around, that was cool. The other thing, though, is thank God they invented the system and have embraced it for setting up your team after you know who you're fighting.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have absolutely done this double take thing that FGO usually does, where they're like, oh, it says Berserkers. I wonder what it is. Oh, it's just mobs. Oh, it's Berserkers. I wonder what it is. Oh, shit. It's Mirror Nezha. Shit. This is a boss fight. Fuck.
Nega Nezha.
Yeah, so I am so glad that they have implemented the system and are using it frequently. It's such a good addition that makes it's so much ease of mind,
It is Gyaru now. I think it is tan skin, blonde hair. She is a Gyaru.
Yeah. Skin Wen, by the way. Come on. Y'all, FGO, even though you've included her in a couple story chapters, y'all know you don't give Nezha enough love. Come on.
No, you really don't. Nezha's really grown on me. I don't know why.
I think it's because despite her, I don't know if you'd call it a speech impediment, but her interesting diction, Nezha has always been straightforward and cool with us. Even in Salem, when several other servants were, completely out of their gourd, Nezha was like, no, on the ball, focus, do the thing.
I am a rock, period.
And then same with when she actually appeared in the Lostbelt stuff. Pretty decent context. It's just that she's actually got, a pretty normal kit that's pretty decent. So, yeah, costume win. But, yeah, I think that's everything to say for first impressions. You have any other interesting things that stick out to you right away?
Oh, no. Like I said, we mentioned Tomomo. It's I don't remember anything, but did Tomomo mention that she's going around collecting monsters before?
Well, yeah, no. She explicitly showed some of them off in Lostbelt 3.
That's right. She used them. That's right. Okay.
She is doing a weird collection thing, and she constantly talks in mid-level marketing terms. Yes. This is part of supply and demand, too, and I'm like, oh, Tomovich, never change.
I don't know, she seems to be doing a little change.
Well, yeah, she definitely had some thoughts and feelings about that last Lostbelt situation. And I'm sure, since we didn't actually run into her, we will actually run into her later.
Yeah.
Will we comment this time on the fact that she has a different wardrobe?
So, you know me, so I'm excited for more Tomovich. Again, I said this, but I am a bit upset that Nezha jobbed so quickly, I want to say.
Yeah, it was almost like Like, they knew that they had to include Neja in the story for a couple of reasons, but we're like, but we need new characters, so...
Yeah, so I think that's the way. I think they just literally wrote her out of the story, just like, all right, let's get rid of her. I'm just like, no. Well, I love her.
I mean, they do kind of this they do this thing of like, hey, you gotta get over it, move on, you know?
They literally say that.
Was her death in vain? And we're like, well, I mean, we would have gotten nuked by Neja's tactical spear, which did actually eat a couple of my servants in the actual boss fight. So, you know, it's pretty scary.
I stall Stratus a little bit. Well, yeah, but, like, you know, at the same time, you know, we had... Well, oh yeah, that's right, because, fun fact, apparently, whatever is affecting our servants isn't affecting Neja, apparently. I think that's what they... Yeah. Or Nega Neja.
Yeah, so there's clearly some greater mechanics to the system going on that we're going to unravel, because we're not even a quarter of the way through yet.
No, I gotta put this in time. I really do.
It is time for the Lostbelt 4 deep dive. This is your last stop to get off before spoilers. We're driving the bus to Spoiler Town, and we're not going to stop the bus. You're just going to have to pry open the doors and jump out.
I will not be responsible.
So, I think the best way to summarize this is to reiterate a point I said several hours ago, Lucky, which is, in terms of wanting a Lostbelt animated, this is now my number one. Writing-wise, I don't know if this is the best Lostbelt.
I don't want to say it is.
Honestly, I don't want to say that, but I think this is one of the most fun Lostbelts. It's really cool, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's cool. It's actiony, but it's not necessarily deep.
No, like I said before, I like that the story establishes early on that even though it looks kind of pretty, this place is still super fucked up, and we should not like it. We do not want to stay here. And it further amps that up by setting the stakes very high, killing Neja and Karna early.
Yeah.
Not that, you know, I mean, Karna goes out like a boss, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're here in Spoiler Town. But he sucks it up, and he does say before that he's going to come back. So, you know you'll meet him again.
I'm going to do the thing.
But, once that's firmly established, you are correct. It is not very deep. We realize that the cycle of creation and destruction is really fucked up. We see that Arjuna is really, really strong.
Like, the most of our journey is literally us, alright, how are we going to fucking boop fucking Arjuna? That's literally the culmination of this all story.
We meet the villain right away. Not always guaranteed. We talked about this, I think, last time talking about Lostbelt Kings. Like, you don't see Skahak-Skadi's face for, like, a couple hours into Lostbelt 2. And Ivan literally doesn't wake the fuck up until the climax of Lostbelt 1.
And Shishi's Wong is different because you're actually, you know, interacting, talking with this dude the entire time.
Yes,
you don't talk with Arjuna.
No.
You don't talk. You don't talk with Arjuna.
He doesn't talk.
That's the thing.
He has lost the capacity to small talk. I believe it is described this way in the chapter. God Arjuna is a force of nature. He's a machine.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, the word I want to use is he's a system.
Yes, that's another good word I was thinking of. He is a system, a function of this world. And the way we defeat him is by stopping that. We stop him from being a system, and we turn him back into a mere man, and we punch him really hard.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I always, like, I have a hard time, like, fully, like, solidifying Arjuna Alter as, like, a villain in this, because, yeah, he's, like, you know, he's hyper-accelerated the Yugas, but at the same time, this is also partly in part because of everyone's favorite fuckboy, Ashia Domi, coming here and whispering, literally pouring poison into his ears.
Yes,
and just, like,
Ashia, we see very cleanly that alter egos, the disciples of the foreign god, are not united, and they do have their own little pet projects, which Tomovich explicitly refuses to establish how that relates to the foreign god's greater scheme.
Yeah, again, shout out to Tomovich for being on our side, but not being on our side. She's
a mercenary. She gets to pay us back. We offer her a hitchhike when she would have been super deleted, so she pays us back.
She was gonna blow up everything if we didn't, but
you know, she threatened that. We don't know for sure. She was pretty tired from fighting Ashia. But, like, you know, she's willing to trade information on certain subjects and not on others, and she runs it out. We see her interacting very positively with the Cryptors.
Sudden.
Yeah, no, that's another big thing that I think we want to circle back to. But Arjuna Alter, while we understand that Doman is a bad influence, and I'm glad we get to boob him a little bit, not all the way, but a little bit, We've got to wait a couple Lost Belts and halves to get that far. But you are right with Arjuna Alter because, well, and you can see because he does have flashbacks. We do get a decent amount of our pathos, our inner voice of him. He had a good reason for starting out on this path, but it very quickly got a little weird. And as Loki has brought up, Ashia Doman absolutely sets this up for this to go by faster, right?
Yeah, because I don't think they ever really fully explained it, but the way that the thing they used to was, instead of the yugas being 10 days, they would be, they never actually specified like how long, but they used to be much, much longer.
Yes, the classical time periods of Hindu mythology are super, super fucking long, like, aeons and millennia and stuff. I think even in Arjuna Alter's world, Asha says they used to be years and months, not 10 days. So they used to have a longer period that got freakishly shorter, perfected to a 10-day cycle, and even then, when you get to the last cycle we see, it's even shorter. It's not actually 10.
Listen, a shout out to the fucking visual of the clock, and then the clock fucking freaking out.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I want to bring up. Just talk about the aesthetics of this, right?
Yeah.
There are so many, like, little animations and stuff. There's a fucking animation when the tree, like, goes apeshit and it opens up. And I was like, whoa, there's a fucking animated cutscene, and it's not just a CG with, like, a fucking, 3-frame effect drawn over it in Photoshop. That's still happens
when you get on the island, all the fucking petals start going everywhere.
Yeah.
They went some places.
There's the clock, which has multiple different animations, including one where it just freaks the fuck out and then eventually explodes.
Great.
Yeah, no, they did a lot to put the visual touches on this, and I think the right word for this Lost Belt is that it's very dynamic. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's always a lot of action. You're always doing something, no matter what. Like
cinematic.
Yeah, it's very cinematic.
Like,
there's obviously a lot of shit that happens off screen because the cycle is 10 days, and we go through like 3 of them front to back or something. Maybe that last one's only like 5 days, not 10. But it's very decently prolonged. We spend a decent amount of time here, but every moment we do see is fairly dynamic, and we're all working on something. Like you mentioned earlier, we're always working on our plan to cap Arjuna Alter because we meet him very early on towards the end of the first cycle we were in. We're only in that one a couple of days, and we hit him with everything we got. Rama cuts the brakes, tries to cap him with an NP. He doesn't do anything. I think Karna even tries to fire the Vasavi Shakti at him. Not the full thing, because he gets his armor back later. Also, I think proving that technically Karna can switch back and forth between modes. He still just needs magical juju for that. But he can switch between spear and armor as he needs. But he just tanks all of it, because he's super strong, and there's nothing really we can do about this. We mentioned this last week. There is this presence, this feeling in the world that, our servants don't belong, and it weakens them. And it weakens them physically in the game, too. That was not a setback, but a little bit of an annoying effect, where just people just don't hit hard.
Yeah, no, I do like that as you get through the things, it slowly goes away.
Yeah. It goes back and forth, right? Like, there's that very sad moment when the rebels all get edited out, and then you end the story section, and it's like, effective Unforgiven world increased because rebels were gone. I'm like, oh. But yes, it goes down as we go through the story, which is very good. And when you start the cycle over, when you're in the Yuga of Peace, you get like extra healing effects and stuff, which is pretty cool. They do a lot with the buffs and so on. But yeah, we realize that Arjuna Alter is such a threat. We set up the pieces we need for later. We find Ganesha, we find Lakshmi, we go to check out the Sky Boulder and figure out that it's full of Kali, and so we leave. But we get all the tools. We even have that moment where Karna says he'll see us again. He uses his armor to block a little bit of the sword that Arjuna Alter is wielding so we can escape. We plan out.
I know like it's supposed to be a sword because that's the MP, but I can just only think of ball. Just ball energy. Because that was something that they used a lot of, just Arjuna Alter in that sprite just holding the ball of energy.
Yeah, charging up the ball to release it. And when he actually fires it, it's just a pillar of light that goes out. Great VFX on this, by the way. The pillar of light, the going to the grayscale, the shattering effect, like it's fucking Avengers Endgame. And then it comes back. But yeah, overall, like I said, I don't think this is the best written, but man, it was interesting, fun. It was very easy to play, even though it was actually decently long for a Lost Belt. It was, it was 20 sections, and a lot of those sections were multiple pips. There was a decent number of text, but it didn't feel long.
Like I said, it was very, like you said, it's very action oriented. So like, there's a lot of battling, there's a lot of moving to and forward. Like, we really, like, while we did have some, what we call nothing fights, usually when we're traveling to some place, it's usually, we set out, there's a pit stop in the middle for a middle fight, and then we're there. It's like, ta-da!
And there are a couple of times when, in text-only nodes, you think they would set up for a fight, and if it was part 1 of FGO, there absolutely would have been another fight in there, but they go like, some sacred beasts. Let's just chill out and not fight, and let them pass, and, like, technically I think one time that does kind of bite us in the ass, but, like, generally it's just like, yeah, no, you need to fight that fight. You can fight that fight later.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tactical consideration. Like, we've developed our science and our system of fighting Lostbelts, right? Like, Goldorf gives us the orders. He's like, all right, go out there, figure out how to cut down the Tree of Emptiness, and punch the Cryptor.
Actually, I do want to shout this out again. I love how much Goldorf is coming into his own.
Oh yeah, he does some 8-wheeler drifting later.
Well, like, also his character-wise, like, literally, like, when it starts out, he was like, no, I'm not gonna give out the commands. Everyone knows what they need to do. They don't need me, like, harping on them and shit. Everything's fine. And Da Vinci's like, no, this is, like, a fucking routine. We need to do it. And Goldorf's like, oh, okay, I'll fucking do it. And he's like, listen up, commands.
Yes, once he realizes, like, oh, okay, this is part of the thing. We're doing the morale. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll do it. Okay, I'll issue orders. And then he keeps that up for the entire Lostbelt. He also thinks ahead of time. Like, he remembers previous Lostbelts and has learned lessons. He's like, when we come out with Lakshmi Bai, he's like, yo, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful about telling her that we're gonna erase everybody. Because he remembers Arjuna Alter, who had a very bad response to that. Mm-hmm. Lakshmi almost has that response. But then she looks into your 1,000-yard stare eyes, and she's like,
You've seen some shit.
Oh, never. Okay, this is not something you undertake lightly. Okay.
Yeah, also Goldorf has been studying, all about the servant summoning system. And, well, he has been summoning. Again, this is one of the things I find weird about him. For such a goof that he is, he's remarkably, what I want to say, determined, studious. He does not do things lightly. I think it's the best way.
I think it's because we see this a little bit later when we see I think it's his first big freak out when he's, like, thinking about, actually, no, I think it's his last big freak out when Arjuna's trying to shoot the Shadow Border. When he's yelling about, just because, people are a little scared or a little hurt, they're defective. Like, clearly, Goldorf himself has a complex, right? I think he is well trained by Tool 4, but also, like,
he's lived through some shit himself.
He's lived through some shit, and also, I feel like a lot of people, like, especially at the Clock Tower, especially mages, think of him as just a stuffed shirt. They think of him as just a rich, dandy man. Mm-hmm. When, no, like, obviously, he's not the best person, and he's probably not the most talented person, but to get as far as he has, Goldorf has still done a lot of work. He's done a lot of heavy lifting himself. And obviously, you know that he has life experience. They keep talking about him being a racer. Like, when he's talking about making sure you live, he's like when they bring the Shadow Border up to help you, I think it's the first, it's like the second or third time. He's like, a pit crew can't complete the race on their own. Like, he's like, no, we need you. If you're not here, this is useless. There's no point in us staying safe if you die. We lose then, so...
I've done such, like, an image change on what I thought on Goldorf since during all these Lostbelts. It's so wild. I thought he was just gonna kind of be of a dork, like, the entire time. I'm like, oh no, you are just as much part of this as all of us are, man. It's like, holy shit. He's
Listen,
not just
any man who can see a beast and go, take this, my love, my hate, my super golf punch, he's a good man in my book. Also, by the way, like I said, I think they had a missed opportunity for him to try and woo Jineko over to his side by offering her dumplings or crumpets or something, but whatever. We got her on board anyway because Carnage just literally dragged her kicking and screaming. Another great character showing, by the way, Jineko. Do you think we've talked enough about our general story thoughts and structure that we can talk about individual characters?
Yeah, well, let's see. Well, if we're going like by plot points, I think we're pretty. Yeah, we're up to Jineko right now, anyway.
Yeah. So Jineko is introduced quite early as our first servant in the Lostbelt. So, and we do the whole funny thing with the statue. It's very great. We work through all that, and Ganesha Jineko becomes one of our most staunch allies. She rides out most of the story with us, though. At a certain point, she has to take 5,000. Yeah, well, it's also take 5,000. But after that, she has to take another 5.
Mm-hmm.
That was those 5,000 or whatever was technically work, as we saw in a very long montage.
Ooh, hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I love how confident she starts out. I can play all these games. I can play this game or that game. Video games are the peak human civilization, and then just like next ellipsis, I'm bored. Next ellipsis, I'm dying. Next ellipsis, like just Aoyuki noises. But yeah, we meet Jinako. She's fused with Ganesh, a very powerful deity. She's not super helpful, but she tries her best, right? Like she tries to join in fights. She has her own form of advice, like talking us through things. Like, oh, this endurance battle is just like a 3-day raid, or we gotta fight the boss. She uses a lot of video game analogies, which I think land very good because she's literally a video game character. And the audience is familiar with this paradigm.
Juniko's best. Well, Ganesh is best at the defensive game, like where if you want to put that's something she constantly refers to is how nothing is getting through her flab.
Yes, and that's reflected in Ganesh's gameplay. She's a stone wall type, and it also suits Jinako's personality as a shut-in. Like she's quite intelligent. She's a very skilled computer hacker in real life in her original story, which doesn't come up. But she's got the big neat energy. She stays inside. She's a shut-in, so it kind of exemplifies her personality of like being defensive, being enclosed, and it kind of is her strength that she uses later. Because, spoilers, you thought God Skyboulder was not a thing, but it was a thing. And they explicitly call out, like, it's not just the moon cell, because obviously it's not on the moon, but it is very obviously moon cell inspired. Like, I think Sherlock says, obviously in her mind, to Ganesha, this cube must have represented something very strong and enduring. What's more enduring than the moon cell, which in the extra timeline is older than the Earth? It's just this weird space computer that's always been there, yeah? So, no, it's perfect parallels.
It's always been there. It's always been going, which is kind of what she wanted to exemplify.
Yeah, I love the logic of this to cut ahead in the spoiler, like the story, where they're like, okay, so to prove Ash on our side, and I'm sure we'll break down his character because I think it is actually quite interesting. I love the inserts they do of him of just rage. Yes, I understand. Perfect. Good visual storytelling. But his plan to stop Arjuna Alter is very simple. It's like, listen, we got to prove to him he's not an infallible god. We can't do that with people because Arjuna just deletes them because he's a motherfucker. What if we go back in time? That's right, FGO actually sets up a time travel plotline that's not just we go to a timeline and have time adventures. No, actually going through time and looping time is a literal plot point. He's like, we'll prove he's not an infallible god by making him realize that we've put something in his perfect simulation the entire time and he never noticed. So they send Jinako back to the start of the cycle, and they have her use her second NP to create a moon cell type thing and just chill for God knows how long. I'm like Jinako. I'm perfectly content to sit in my room and read books and play video games all day. But just thinking about the mind-boggling eons is rough. Yeah, that's a great reveal when Domon is like, "Hey, they're heading towards that weird cube thing. I wonder what that's for." And Arjuna's like, "What cube? The what? The what cube? There's a cube?" And Domon's just like, "Shit." He's like, No. That's a great sequence of event. It's got the perfect villain turnabout.
But no, Jinako's great. Like, aside from like, she is like your number one source of brevity in the Lostbelt 2. Because like Gorf and Da Vinci Small have their own moments, but Jinako's the one there constantly making the quips.
As is usual, Da Vinci Holmes and Goldorf as mission support often have a lot of your expositional / story direction role. Like, they're usually telling you, okay, we need to do this now, or let's find out about this, or they give you information. Da Vinci is a great source, for instance, when you're trying to crack the legend on Asclepius. Letting you know about that guy and stuff. Holmes is out there theory crafting. I also like that we actually see character development from Holmes. There are several times where he's like, okay, y'all, this is just a theory, but I'm going to tell you anyway, just in case. Like,
he actually does call himself out, saying he's not going to fall back into bad habits.
Yes, he has realized that because we are all so fragile, like, he can be a little looser about spitting out theory crafting and figure out some shit. So they form a strong base of our observational. This is also when we're introduced to Jinako that we get our first look at a couple of other characters. We see our first of the Lopaka, which is basically Arjuna Alter. And as sad as this character is, I really do want that skin, though. Come on, hook a man up. We meet her, and we also get our first glimpse of Pepe, setting up one really great character and one perfectly normal character. Like, obviously, I get why regular Neja, quote-unquote, has to job, because we need to establish that
it's real.
Yeah, shit's real, the high stakes. Also, that the servants we meet in this Lostbelt are not necessarily normal, because obviously, if if regular Neja and Lostbelt Neja were equal in power, it wouldn't be a blowout, right?
Right.
So we need to set the stakes, we need to establish how powerful everybody is, and kind of almost set up another way in which Arjuna Alter, and also by extension Doman, because this is all his idea, is a little fucked up. Because what Arjuna Alter does is not only does he summon servants and edit their memories as well, which is a very scary thing, but also he supplements them by passing them divinities like candy, giving them authorities. So for Neja, she gets the authority of the god of treasure, which is connected to Neja in mythology, but also that's Neja's dad, and they don't have a great relationship, so...
No.
And which obviously Arjuna Alter would not get at all.
Or probably care.
No, he does not understand nor want to understand. He does not give a single solitary fuck. This is not perfection. And so it's actually explained later after that boss fight that the reason why Dark Neja went so ham on regular Neja was just like, seeing myself perfect and uncorrupted was really upsetting, and it kind of shook my whole worldview. So I did a suicide by cop, and I used all my NPs until I exploded. However, that does kind of put us on our major plot path, because we realize that while Arjuna Alter's pretty tough, his Lopaka are not infinitely tough, right? And they are not necessarily perfectly on his side. No. They have to obey him because of the master-servant relationship, but they are still individual beings. So this kind of sets up our other major crisis of like, okay, so the thing we gotta do is we gotta punch the 4 mini-bosses to collect the 4 plot coupons so that we can unlock the Tower of Arjuna. And ultimately, all of them come back to bite Arjuna Alter in some way.
So, before that,
we do our first dip in the cycle, and then we come out and we see how things are different and how things are the same. I think we get our first, this is fucking gross and wrong moment when the dog is gone.
Yeah.
And we're like... And
no one remembers.
And we're like...
I think that was the thing that truly killed me, is that no one remembered. I'm just all like...
nobody remembered, and it was just like, this is not okay. Like, that was a full-blown like, oh, this is not alright moment. This when I find that sassy catboy, I am going to boop him so hard. Like,
it's like, not the dog!
I know, killing the dog is a cheap shot, but we existentially destroyed the dog. The dog only had a broken leg on screen. It's just, the dog's fucking gone, which is the most existentially horrifying kind of setup. It's real freaky-deaky, and nobody likes it. So we start exploring. Now, the funny thing is that Fat Man Mayor, who I can't believe doesn't die at all in this dumb thing, this animal fat man, God knows what he's doing to be so fat in this world, lives until the end. I guess he truly does have faith in his god. Whatever. Anyway, he turned out to be a nice guy, and he's like, oh, we saw you after a Yuga cycle. Clearly you are not evil. No matter what you do, you're fine. And so we ask him, hey, yo, are there other people who don't live exactly like you do? And he's like, well, on the other side of the mountains, there's a village who apparently, take up weapons and defend themselves against the Kali. We just pray. It's nobody. You don't need to worry about them. And we're like, okay, bye, we're going now. We're definitely not going to go talk to those guys you told us not to talk to. Bye. And this is where we meet our second supporting servant. We mentioned her a few times, Lakshmi Bai, who is a very involved character. I knew she was in the story. I did not realize like how much this story is about her as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a very good character intro to her.
Much rebellion. Spartacus would be proud.
Also, decently fair, I think, to history, because I don't know exactly why the Japanese usually love the English, but they are not necessarily nice to the idea of Indian occupation. Very, very interesting how that shakes out. But we meet Lakshmi Bai. Rama hits on her without hitting on her. I love Rama in this sequence, by the way. I'm glad he completely lasts all the way to the end. Rama is himself, and he can finally be himself and not a carry-on item.
I mean, he turned back into a carry-on item.
At the very end, they had the joke. They had to
he's like, man,
it.
I do like, he's like, man, I feel like this has happened before.
I'm getting a sense of deja vu.
Also,
no. Bark my insides.
But no, yes, Rama is all like, Sita, are you in there? And Lakshmi Bai just like, literally does like the eagle fucking talon to his face, just holds him up.
Yeah, she just apply grip to throat. As I assume he is like yelling at probably her chest or her belly button or something. You know?
Probably.
Like, I can't imagine that they're having a face-to-face conversation. He's just being a weirdo, and she just grabs face.
Listen, Rama just wants to, slay demons and find his wife.
And eat
That's
banana.
It. And eat banana. I
rotate.
still
Brahmastra.
Why has no one, like, I know someone made the fucking, rotate banana with fucking Lancelot. Why did no one do that with Rama? That would make things so much better. But
we meet Lakshmi Bai. We have the perfect character intro to her, right? We're introduced as her being a strong, queenly character leading these dudes, forming a rebellion. when we have a misunderstanding, when she shows back up to the gate, she jumps on top and is like, "None shall pass!" And then she falls off. She falls off and falls in a hole. And we realize that she's got, what's the Japanese word for this? Dojiko? She's got clumsy girl vibes. Mm-hmm. Now we find out this later. This is a whole thing. You thought it was just a cute character tick. No, this is a plot point. But she, after we get our misunderstandings sorted out, as always happens in FGO, you always have to fight your friends, at least once. Yep. She comes around to our side and is like, "Okay, I can work with you. We can do some experiments. We can figure some shit out. You guys try to check out the Sky Boulder because it's weird, and then you find it's full of demon crocodiles, and you leave, and you come back, and then the village is smashed. This is also where you fight Neja, and move on. And in general, this kind of forms her character arc of like, okay, we can solve problems. Oh no, I can't solve problems. I'm going to die. No, I will solve problem. Oh no, another problem. Like, she has this bell curve of like being determined, doing stuff, and then she go bad, and then she kind of arcs back up like, no, actually, fuck you, kind of. And I think she has great writing for a character intro. For a character who I believe a lot of people write off as Chocolate Jean. She has a lot of characterization all her own, and we explore her character and her backstory a lot in this. And it's a character and backstory I like. Like, I appreciate we have this heart-to-heart, right, when we explain to people, like, we explain to her what's going to happen when we prune the Lostbelt. And, like, she's upset about it, but also she's like, no, I understand. You're just trying to do your best. You don't know any better than anybody, you know? Mm-hmm. It's not often we get these heart-to-heart moments. Also, have you noticed, Lucky, that the player character is able to emote more in the narration?
Oh, yeah, no, like, they're actually starting to do some third-person narrations at some point.
Yeah. Which I think makes sense because, I mean, they could show the player character's expression sheet, because I'm sure we've got some, but they don't usually, so I think it makes sense for a viewpoint thing to just not, and just have a third party describe it in text, because unlike a lot of the other visual novel characters, we don't usually slide in and get shown as a character, so.
No.
But I think this firmly establishes that it's something that's been on their minds for a while.
Well, to be fair, this is something that I do think, this is something that I think needs to be, because, like they say in this is a journey, like, this isn't necessarily, like, in part one, we were on journeys to, save a bunch of people. Like, one way or another, we were trying to prevent tragedies. And, the result of that, for good or ill, is, everything just goes back to normal. And so there wasn't necessarily any, like, heavy strain on the soul.
Right.
You're doing the good thing and whatnot.
We had some harsh vibes, but we were working towards something that was easily better. We had to return everything to normalcy. Technically everything was still broken, obviously, because GT exploded the Earth. But, we had clear goals that we knew we were going for.
Yes, no, we could definitely say that we were doing the right thing. We were unfucking things. Here, we're still in that same boat of, we know we're doing the right thing, but the right thing has a cost that we're not necessarily comfortable paying.
Well, I would not say that we know we're doing the right thing. We've never actually proven that cutting down the trees does anything.
Well, true. But it's the only thing
we're doing the only thing we can do to try and survive and push forward to actually do better, because that's what we got to do. We're in a fight for our survival, and we have to fight.
We're trying to win a battle that we've already lost.
Yeah.
And like, the only way that we have to move forward is to basically exterminate all these living lives. We know that they're technically lives that, technically were never there to begin with. I guess that's the best way to put it there. But when you, like, this is something that they've, mashed actually most this a lot. Seeing the people living in that moment right now, it's hard to just dismiss. And, excuse me.
There's a lot of, Mash has a lot of good character growth in this as well. She does a lot of talking. I assume it's because Pepe is there to kind of play as a foil to her.
Oh, no, Pepe's great.
Yeah, well, I think we'll save Pepe because we usually talk about the cryptors and stuff at the end. We'll probably save that for the end because we're going to have a lot of stuff to say.
But, like, this is something that, weighs on the soul and mind, and I don't think it's necessarily something that you can just pass over.
Right, you have to mention, hey, by the way, you've done this like 3 times. And it kind of
like, how does that make you feel? And you're just like, well...
And you get a couple of dialogue options here you can lay out. Like, you can choose, like, I assume you explain it to Lakshmi Bai anyway, but you have a dialogue choice of, like, just lay it out flat out to her, or kind of hedge your bets. I went for just lay it out, because why the fuck not?
Yep.
And similarly later, when people ask you about your motivation, right? Like, they ask you about, are you okay with this? You're like, I don't know if it's the right choice, but it's the only choice I got,
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the one thing that we can't do. As the last master, we can't just roll over and die, because literally all of our timeline worth of humans are, like, well, they're dead and gone, but they're like behind us, supporting us, kind of thing. So we got to fight for all of them. It's the reverse of what Coxcotti did at the end of her Lostbelt. And the more as we play this, I feel like Coxcotti is. I appreciate her characterization as a character more. Like she's not as much of a character as I think Shin Wong is, but compared to some of our other ones, like Ivan is asleep, and as you talked about, Arjuna Alter is a system, a rule of nature, a law of the universe. He's not great at characterization.
No.
But that moment where Coxcotti, you've replanted the tree, Surtra is dead, and she just, cracks her knuckles and starts tallying up how many lives she's effectively killing if she fights you, and is like, I got it, I can do it, I'm gonna do it. Like, that's a moment that you really need in Lostbelt 2.
Well, you gotta realize, these people are going to fight for their lives. It's the only one they have.
Right. But at the same time, you're the reverse of that. Like, no. I represent a world line of 8 billion people who were all perfectly, they weren't the best, because Doman tries to talk shit about how shitty your timeline is and stuff. But, yeah, so real life sucks a little bit. Like, not everybody is healthy, not everybody is happy, but, man, there's a lot of us, and a lot of us are trying our best, and we have a lot of the tools we need to try our best. A very recurring theme of these Lostbelts, almost none of them are high-tech. I wonder, because it's Nasu, and he's always described the Grecian gods as, like, mechanical, I'm wondering if, like, Atlantis will be, like, Magitech-y?
That's something I'm wild about.
Like, I really want to see where this goes, and we'll see a lot of it, because it's 2 parts, but, like, most of the civilizations we run into are civilization it super doesn't function. Like, this is a literal call-out Holmes does to Arjuna Alter we mentioned. He calls out, like, bro, your world has no civilization. Like, you may create a perfect world, but it's a pointless, incomplete world, which will inherently become imperfect by virtue of having no person, right?
Yeah.
Like, it'll be over. You'll have solved the puzzle box, and you've solved the Rubik's Cube. Cool. Now you have a perfect Rubik's Cube, basically.
What do you do with it? Nothing. You leave it.
Which inherently makes it, as a world, imperfect, because there's nothing more to do in it,
Yeah, because I think that's something has been stated about the theoretical pruning phenomenon. If the world doesn't have to be, like, too evil or fucked up. If the world is too fucking perfect as well, it gets pruned.
If it reaches its completion and won't ever change, it gets pruned because there's no purpose in saving that information.
Yes.
This is presumably what happened normally to Lostbelt 3. It just reached a point of stagnation and everybody was kind of in a bleh stasis of happiness, Qin Shi Huang had no desire to grow beyond the Earth. He literally built a wall to keep out space and just settled into doing the same thing forever. Lostbelt 4, I don't actually know if it was pruned because Arjuna would have hit his perfection cap, or if it was pruned just because of how unbelievably fucked up and the fact that it was never going to amount to anything. Like,
once he started quickening the Yugas, and I don't guess human civilization couldn't keep up with the trimming. Like, that's
probably when we realized the point of, this timeline's going to get shittier and shittier every loop. It's not going anywhere. We're done here.
Yeah, you don't have enough time to develop, and people who might have been working on things would just fucking vanish. Like, because that's the thing about the cycle. If you're injured, because this happens to the dog, and Papa, that fucker. I don't hate him. He's still kind of a fucker.
Oh yeah, no, he was an asshole, but he was our asshole. Damn you. Damn your eyes.
Like, if you go into the cycle injured, you're basically you're imperfect. So therefore, you're erased.
As opposed to the perfectly reasonable function, you motherfucker, which is just resetting everybody to 0 and starting anyway. Basically, guys, Arjuna's a shitty programmer. That's what it is. He's a
code monkey.
So yeah. So I do want to see how Lostbelt 5 is different, and I think it really will be. Well, not only because it's the first one we get in 2 parts, right, 2 stages, but I think the premise is really interesting, and they've gone out of their way to say that Wojaime's Lostbelt is it's definitely the largest, and it's probably arguably the strongest, and it will be the one that's most likely to win. So I'm very curious to see how those little facts we are told translate to actual details in the story. But yeah, so Lakshmi has a great story. We have this great turnaround later where, yes, she shares her name with the goddess of fortune, but actually the goddess who gave her powers is Alakshmi, the goddess of misfortune, which gives her the best superpower, bad luck on a stick.
Hey, it's the ability to affect probability in some fashion.
Yeah. One of which she uses in a completely baller way in your first William Tell fight, who we'll talk about in a second, because he's our second. Well, no, I think he's technically the third Lopaka we run into. We fight, yes, we decide to fight Asclepius first, and we punch him a couple of times, and that's when we get Surprise David.
Yep, also Surprise Doctor Visit.
Yeah, a couple of surprises in there. But she uses her powers in that first William Tell fight to do a reverse fortune from Metal Gear Solid 2 and make the arrows strike her and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. And I love how William Tell noticed. It's like, it fucking bounced off a bird's feather, a horse kicked up a rock and deflected it. It's just like, what?
And it doesn't deflect enough for the shot to be lethal because she's not being aimed at, but it still hits her. It's only lethal when he actively starts aiming for her, and then she just uses her natural talents as a servant to be like, no, because she knows he's only aiming at her. And she's a very defensive servant, actually. This is seeing her skill set and stuff.
He actually mentions that, how her and she's more built for defense, too.
Yeah. So we get to see all this later. We later learn that she has a connection to the Kali because in some tellings, Al-Lakshmi is one of the wives of Kali.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyer.
But also, Rama also be like, you're now my sister-in-law. You're family now.
Yeah, and Lakshmi Bai is still like, what? What's wrong with you?
Like, Rama really loves his wife, therefore he really loves his wife's family.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think from a mythological standpoint, he's got a good point, because he himself is an incarnation of the god Vishnu. So if you see Lakshmi Bai as the incarnation of the goddess Alakshmi, yeah, they're related, and he wouldn't want any harm to come to that goddess core inside her. So he's like, nah, it's cool. I got your back.
Rama's a great boy. He's kind of like Gil in his kingness. Is like, I'm fucking great, y'all. But he's actually is fucking great.
Yeah. He's a beautiful cinnamon roll of a human being. He's just out here to do king stuff and punch demons.
Find his wife.
And you get to see his true heroism later when to flip Ash. He's just like, oh, you're cursed, bro? Give me that curse. No. I eat your curse. And then he's like, ooh, this was a mistake. Nope, that's my guts. Master, my guts. You know, he does what we all do when we eat something we shouldn't. He just regrets his life and lies on the floor. The sprite shift is so good, where he goes from, I'm fine, to, ooh,
I'm slightly
green. Green. There's a little bit of tear in the corner of the eye. He's like, I'm fine. Nope, doesn't hurt at all. If you think I gasp in pain, you're clearly wrong. I'm too cool
I'm
for
a king. I'm a king. Kings don't gasp.
Yeah. But yeah, we see the complete arc of Lakshmi, and it turns out that she's actually very important to the final one, because her noble phantasm is a territory type which, you know, denies things, so she can help us kind of like exist defensively. Very good. Also has a very sad moment because all her rebels get yeeted in the timeline because we make mistakes. This is another thing I like about the way this is structured. We do loops, right?
Right.
So we make mistakes in loops, and we learn from them because we get to try again, basically. We learn in the first loop that Arjuna is really, really strong, and we can't punch him directly. We learn in the second one that, oh, he's not some idiot god alone on his ivory mountain. He does actually look around, and if we get his attention, it's bad, and it kind of fucks with our plan. I believe during all this, we meet all our other Lopaka. We also do hook up with Pepe permanently, or at least indefinitely, for the rest of the story. We learn some things. We'll probably save Pepe for the last, because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings. I think that out of the Lopaka, though, William Tell and Asclepius are the most interesting because Arjuna edited them, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Arjuna kind of applied his own need for perfection onto Asclepius and made him forget why he wants perfection. He has this... They literally give Asclepius a final death scene as a Pip in Section 20. Like, they go out of their way to have him come back, slap Domon's shit off screen, and then give him a flashback scene to him doing that, and then him crawling into a field and dying, so you can get that final bit of pathos. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's like literally gives a boy panicking some medicine. He's like, "You're not injured. Shut up. Who's injured? Take this medicine. Get out of my sight."
Like, he does his doctor vision, his surgical scan, and is like, "Kid, why are you crying? You're fine. You don't need anything." He's like, "My mother's dying. She's sick or stuff." And he's like, "How absolutely foolish. You don't even know how to fix this. Take this. In the morning, give her 2 of these. Fuck off, child. I'm dying." And then he has a quiet moment of, like, he has that moment of pathos, why he's mad at the gods and stuff, because, you know, like a lot of Greek demigods, his mother got exploded a little bit, and he doesn't get along great with his dad Apollo, because this is canon. This is canonical. Most of Apollo's lovers, male or female, don't go well. He has a very high record of dudes and ladies who get turned into plants, animals, or otherwise explode. And yeah, it turns out pretty sad. So he's a little upset at the Greek gods for like fucking with him because he just wanted to cure death, dudes. And he has a great moment about humanity, which I think exemplifies what's wrong with this Lost Book. He's like, I can only hope humanity will continue to advance, and medicine will get so advanced that nobody has to die anymore. And then I can tell my mother something. I forgot. Anyway, I'm dead. Like, it's a great, beautiful moment of like completion to his character. Because, like, that's the thing. Like, you ask yourself this question. Wait a minute, Asclepius. Why are you working for a perfect god? You kind of don't get along with gods. You pissed off Hades and Zeus exploded you. Canon, by the way. Not really pissed off Hades, but when he brought a guy back to dead with Gorgon blood, Hades was like, "Whoa, yo, not okay. Hold on. That's kind of my job is controlling the living and the dead." And he picks up the phone and calls up Zeus and is like, "Yo, Z-Man, there's this human kid, this demigod kid. He's like making humans come back to life. It goes against the natural cycle of things."
I think it wasn't that. I think it was more like he was trespassing upon the realm of God. I think is the way they phrased it.
He was going outside of. He was swerving outside of his lane.
Yeah.
And so Hades calls up Zeus and is like, "Yo, you want to do about this?" And Zeus, of course, is what he does every time. Is like, "I'll take care of this. Don't worry, honey. Where's my thunderbolts?" That's how he solves everything.
It really is. It's like, can I put my dick in it? No. All right, I'm killing it.
Can I change shape into something to solve this? No. Thunderbolts. So, like, Asclepius really should be a little more annoyed about this perfect god bossing him around, but he's had some edits done, so he's not, and he only realizes this later. And I like how they bring up his downfall, right? Like, he comes up with the god of the underworld, and he summons Zombos to fight you, and when that doesn't work, he's like, "I need more. Hey, I need another one. Give me another authority." And he takes 2, and then he basically kills himself doing this. Like, his spirit origin is not cut out to handle 2 full authorities of gods, and he overheats and melts down, just like Nezha did, but with being more subtle. And I love that Mash, I think Mash calls him out on this, is like, "Oh yeah, no, we totally learned this from Nezha. We figured you were gonna burn out, buddy." And or maybe Lakshmi points it out, and it's just like, he's like, "What? Impossible!" Asclepius has great mad science vibes. I love him.
He does. I think did they actually call him a mad scientist?
Oh yeah, Jinako points it out. She's like, "This dude's got mad science vibes, yo." He acted sus. Jinako would say sus. Yes, I know she's a 30-year-old woman. She would do it anyway.
Listen, I'm a 30-something-year-old man. I still say sus.
It's really interesting because, like, the way William Tell and Asclepius are in the Lostbelt really reeks of, like, Camelot Knights of the Round type shit, right? Mm-hmm. Where, like, they're altered, but they're not altered with a capital A. But even so, I think a lot of their original characterization shines through. Like, especially when Asclepius shows up in the final cycle, he's like, "Oh no, I'm super dead. This is I managed to like create a duplicate of me who can live for a little bit longer." And he's also showed up, "Domon, I've come to slap you." Which once again, I would like to point this out. Somebody did throw this out there. Domon, who at the very least has the power to turn into a giant ghost and be very annoying.
Powers of the fucking, the foreign god.
Powers of the foreign god and high level on Myoji. Very high level powers. This caster, who is not offensive, manages to dunk on him hard enough that he uses up the Shikigami, the construct that Limbo is using, and still has the energy to walk off into a field of flowers and die dramatically. Love this guy.
Well, to be fair, Asclepius is a half-god.
True. Pretty high tier as well, because he's
Apollo.
Yeah, grandson of Zeus via Apollo.
But still, no.
And he's got Divinity A because after his death he was deified as a god of medicine, right? Like, he's pretty high up there.
It's like after the sex, like, okay, now that you're one of us, now you can do this stuff. There are rules.
Yes.
There's rules,
Listen,
man.
you can pass on what you've taught to humans, but humans can't figure out how to fix the dead. If you want to fix the dead, that's your problem, buddy.
Yeah, so Asclepius, like I said, we had the Boopus New. Again, I found we got interesting dialogue from the mysterious doctor that showed up. Like,
yes, I feel comfortable sharing my theory. I am now reasonably certain that this is King of Humans Gatia is the doctor.
Yeah, no.
Like, it was a toss up before. Is it Romani is wandering the world as himself again, or is it Gatia using Solomon's body? And from this dialogue, it is absolutely Gatia, because he's wandering around this Lostbelt going like, and he's the third village, he's the doctor who fixes things, and he's like, "This isn't what this world needs. I can't use this to save this world."
He's also like, when I did this before in a different body, people were fucking pissed off at me. What's changed?
What's changed is that, one, you're wearing Roman's face now, so you're 10 times as adorable. But also, Gatia is literally humanized now. Like, when we last see him and we punch his lights out, he is king of man. So, now that he's humanized, he's learned a lot. And I think it shows because, like, he actually goes amongst the people in all these Lostbelts, this character, the mysterious Chaldean doctor, and tries to figure out what their problems are on their own, and tries to fix them. Like in Lostbelt 2, he uses Magecraft to enhance the barriers in one of the villages so the giants won't eat it, when they freak out. He heals a bunch of sick people in Lostbelt 4, like we saw. But he also is realizing, like, oh, I can't do all this by myself. Those nerds from Chaldea will come fix it.
Like, honestly, like, this kind of draws some interesting lines to how like Chi Shi Huang acted and how Gatia acted previously in this kind of, I clearly know best. I don't need to actually know what humans are about. I know everything I already fucking need to know without actually putting any effort into actually, getting to know them.
As Beast 1, Gatia's sin was pity.
Yeah.
As in the how do they phrase it? It's like the sheer arrogance of pitying someone that you don't understand.
Mm-hmm. But now, as, the King of Man, he's actually walking among the people, understanding them, talking to them, seeing how they live their lives. Because I'm pretty sure,
And we know that he had this arc at the end of the Solomon chapter. When he's reduced that low, he's like, I'm dying, my plan is fucked, logically, I should just give up, but for some reason, I'm fucking pissed off at you, and I want to punch you.
And you're just all like, bring it.
And you're all like, well, I want to punch your stupid face too. Fight me, bro. Fight me in real life. Yeah, and so, it's a really interesting to see. And like I said, the way this guy's talking, he's still not named, and I'm like, this absolutely reads like these are some Gatia vibes. This is like, Gatia didn't die. He found the 10th ring, like we saw in that one trailer, and he's managed to live through the apocalypse again. And he's like, oh man, shit's fucked. Only somebody saw that coming. Can I do anything about this situation? Nah, not really. Well, I'll just chill and be mysterious until it gets fixed up. Like, it seems pretty cool. But so, that's also where we get our surprise David moment, which is very interesting. We learn several things in this moment.
Honestly, I've learned that David is probably not as much of a fuckboy as I thought he was.
No, I think David's thing is just, like, Da Vinci describes him as a genius, right? Like,
he's a genius and mysterious as fuck.
He is just a guy who has his own worldview. He's not necessarily, like, evil. Like, he does have those weird thoughts about how his Lostbelt is perfectly cool for humans to just die. But, like, he doesn't seem like he enjoys just killing dudes. Like, he's just out for a stroll, We learn a lot about his character, I think, decently. Mm-hmm. We also learn a very other important thing. His servant is a Grand. He's already summoned them. They're mysterious, and they're a Grand.
That's a little terrifying.
They also have no problem eating dead people, just slurping them up. From the impression I from the dialogue we briefly saw, I kind of felt like maybe they were related to a Mesoamerican deity, like maybe it's Ketz's nemesis. I'm not sure I'm remembering all the consonants in that name, but like that's kind of the vibes I got from like how he talked about the dead and sacrifices and stuff. But no, David's kind of a bro. He shows up to bail out Pepe. We learn that Pepe's real name is Miorenji. In case you didn't know, Spicy Peppers is actually Japanese. He practices the art of Shugendo and certain Buddhist enlightenment techniques. Yeah, as people are typing Tezcatli Porca in there, but yeah, I don't remember if I remembered all the consonant sounds the first time. But sure. So we see David, and he shows up with the aid of Tomovich for like 5 minutes. He punches Asclepius, not literally, but he boops Asclepius back. When we're all passed out and we're gonna die because we ran out of energy fighting zombos, he gets Asclepius to back off for 5 seconds. He has a conversation with Pepper, and then he's like, "All right, I'm out. Bye."
Toya Skyen, can I please get a trip back to the Lostbelt? This is important.
Yeah, he's like, he lets Pepe understand how to get out of this situation because he realizes that Peppercino is without a servant and kind of stranded. He asks him the question, like, hey, did you betray us? And he's like, no, I'm just doing my own thing, hanging out, catching up.
And David's like, David does not actually finger guns snaps into finger guns, but he does the thing, he's like, got it.
He's like, all right, cool. That's all I wanted to know, bye. Me and my grand servant came over from my Lostbelt to just check up on you. See how you're doing, bub. All right, go, Skya. Let me out of here. Let's go. Let's party.
Well, and to be fair, I do feel like David actually did it out of concern rather than, Barrel maybe doing it out of just being fuckboy.
Yeah, David is not fucking around. Like, he is actively going against their rules and he's just like, I'm just checking in on you. There's no rule that says we're supposed to be competing, but there's no sense we can't just, talk to each other.
Also, David leaves some cryptic hints.
Also, though, there's a very interesting thing about David's characterization. He refuses to acknowledge us at all. Like, only at the last moment, as Konenskaya is taking him away, does he look at us at all. And we don't even know for sure. That's your dialogue line. It's like, was he just looking at me? Like, it's really interesting. I don't even think he acknowledges Smash.
That might, I don't know. That might be one of those things that if he acknowledges you, he has to understand that you're the enemy or something.
Maybe.
Or maybe we're just so beneath his fucking notice.
Yeah, he's so busy thinking about other things he didn't even bother. It felt very deliberate, though. It felt like a deliberate, I'm not even going to look at you, I'm not going to acknowledge you, I'm not going to talk about anything.
Yep. Well, like I said, my main reason for that is, like I said, again, the cryptors are against us, but not necessarily against us. I think this is one of the great things about fucking Pepe that I love. Like, because this is something that as we get later into, you start to understand is that not everyone's agenda is lining up.
No, and Pepe gave us this early on when he first comes to our side. I think we talked about this a little last week. But all of the cryptors were given a choice: oblivion or revival in service to humanity's enemy. Now this comes back later where he's like, whoa, no. Don't think we were coerced to do this, but we weren't actually coerced. We could have all just died.
Yeah, like, no matter how bad the other choice is, it's still a choice.
Yeah. And obviously, me and my criminal justice brain, I'm like, no, but you were actually coerced, though. That's a real thing. If somebody picks up your, like, it's metaphysical, right? So it's not realistic. Yeah. But hypothetically, if somebody scooped up your soul from the afterlife and is like, hey, I'll kill you, or you can work for me, that's coercion. That's not okay. But
that is under duress, as they say.
But I think Pepe has a good point later when he brings it up, where he's like, we all still did make this choice, so we are still capable of fighting you. We have our pride, And also, Pepe has a lot of pride, so he's like, also, if I don't at least try to protect my tree and fight you guys, I don't think I can. What will my friends who lost say, if I give up without a fight?
I say, and that's, like I said, like, I can't hate him for it. I really don't. Like, I love Pepe. I love him to death.
And I think it's very interesting how we see with David, like I said, that we really do get to see that, first of all, the disciples of the foreign god and the cryptors are not all on the same side.
I'm pretty sure
I think it's very important that, I believe it's Pepe who explains this, the cryptors' nickname is not a foreign god thing. That was their team nickname from Maresbury.
Yep.
That was, and they explicitly call it that Mash didn't know this because she was basically a robot at that time. Mash was not big on individuality until shortly before meeting you, I guess. And honestly, possibly not even then. Like, she doesn't have a lot of time to do much besides just decide she wants to call you senpai and stuff.
Well, that's a lot of thanks to the efforts of Dr. Roman to bring her to the outside world. And then, again, this is also kind of the subplot of part 1, is Mash going around seeing the world and learning things.
And also the subplot of part 2.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of talking about Mash's character growth through the lens of Pepe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so David shows up, and I this has really got me in the position of like, man, I don't even know, like, who is on the foreign god's side, really? Because the cryptors aren't really on their side. Like, obviously they have a plan, they have thoughts and feelings, but they're still individual humans, Like, as far as I can tell, almost none of them play by the fucking rules, right?
I think Ophelia was probably the closest we've seen so far.
Maybe, but even then, she hid the tree, right? Like, she didn't let Scotty know about the greater thing going on, right?
Well, that's because Scotty wasn't on board with the plan necessarily.
Well, yeah, but, like, she had her own way of, like, working with making the tree work and stuff like that. Kadok was straight up like, oh, I'm supposed to find a king and help him nurture the tree? No, fuck that. I'm gonna make my servant the king, And in Lostbelt 3, Python was straight up like, she calls him up on the phone and is like, yeah, guys, I'm not playing the dumb game anymore. I found my win con. Bye!
I found my man. I have my good buddy here. Everything's nice, and I don't have to deal with anybody. Fuck y'all. I'm out. And now you're stuck being a servant in my Chaldea with a whole bunch of people who know who you are and will not leave you alone. How does that make you feel, Python?
Something, my hate, my despair, raining blood.
I
made it. Listen, I did a lot of painting in this Lostbelt. I also made it rain blood a lot. I also may have made people collapse into space lasers as well. That was very decent, especially that one fight where there was literally an alter ego.
I used the comma.
Yeah, I used the comma. But yeah, no, like it's pretty funny to think, her with her angst-based superpower that Python just rolling around in India, raining on dudes' parades, literally. Also in my mind, I'm just like, I know they talk about how she's dead and whatnot, but I'm like, you don't have the balls to actually have Story Python back, like as a servant. Do it, you won't. I'd actually love to see it. I'd love to see it.
That's something I do wish we had, is that actually, Servant Python was actually canon at our Chaldea.
Like, she is eventually, but because the timeline has gotten a little wibbly-wobbly with Part 2, there's no confirmation of when she showed up at Chaldea other than whenever Summer 5 takes place, right? Mm-hmm. And it could obviously be that, right, like, we're just not dragging her along with us in the Shadow Border because of how the rules work, but still, I would love to see that confrontation about, like, as the only character who has full-blown switched sides, kind of.
Kind of. I mean... Well, remember, she didn't do it for you. She did it for the chance that she might get to see her husbando again.
And he still hasn't showed up, so until then,
I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate. I do have the genre.
But yeah, so
plus one happy couple.
David moment is so good. Then we run into William Tell, who's very interesting. Like, as he's portrayed, it's very big boss-like. I wonder if the scriptwriters were leaning into this, or this is actually like a Metal Gear type meme, you know?
I mean, he has an eye patch. He doesn't have a box, but he just pops out of fucking blinds out of nowhere.
Yeah, he has camo. One of his attacks is literally a pile of leaves appears behind you and you get shot. That's very funny. He has a crossbow he wields like an assault rifle. But like I said, I don't know how much of it is just general homage and how much of it is deliberate, but like his dialogue is very much written like that, in English anyway. And we also clearly get the idea that something's a little weird about him because he speaks like a mercenary and a hunter, right? Like, he's like, I'm just doing a job. I've been paid to hunt, you know. I can't let the corner prey get away.
Like, you're like, really, William Tell? Aren't you more about, like, resisting absolute authority and shit?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know necessarily why Arjuna decided to summon him. I think he just summoned whoever. But what purpose he serves as, like, being bonded with the wind god so he can control his shots and, like, take advantage of the terrain. And there are a lot of, like, arrows and missile weapons in Hindu mythology as well. I assume it's because they didn't want to, especially after adding Asclepius, they didn't want to stack up and just have all Indian servants because they were already adding quite a few, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, and we have this great moment where we get to this last fight where he already does his reflex where one of the rebels tries to shoot him and he automatically shoots back and he's like, oops. Wanted to avoid collateral damage, but, you know, I instinctively returned fire. And then Asha, the OG, the ballerist of small children, picks up a fucking crossbow or whatever from the ground and tries to cap William Tell.
She's gotta help, yo.
Yeah, she must do something. And she takes the shot, and Tell blocks it, and he goes to return fire, and he cannot. He cannot shoot that child. And he's like, what?
The fuck?
And Mash and you were like, no, you
fucking no shit.
William Tell. Of course you can't shoot a child. That's not what your arrows are for. And I love this fight. He literally starts by self-stealing his NP. On his first break bar, he will not use his NP.
Yep. He's a bit of the confused.
Yeah. You know, after you beat him up, you remind him of his legend. Like, no, that's not what your arrow is for. Your arrow is to fight against tyranny and protect your son. And he's like, who the fuck my son? And that's when we realize that, like, oh wow, Arjuna is just an animal, man. He does not understand how to use people. He is bad at human resources. The Lopaka need a union. Like, this is bad. It's very bad. It's a hostile work environment.
Yep.
But then William Tell does the perfect thing he does when he flips, and he goes to confront Arjuna, covered in blood, and gives him snipes. And actually explains what his NP does both times.
Mm-hmm. I love the second, the true NP.
Yes. The second arrow, overlapping cause and effect, because he always had a second shot ready.
Just
if he
in case
missed.
the first one missed.
Which forms a conceptual noble phantasm which is used. If the first shot does in fact fail to hit the target, the second shot comes and will hit, and it does work. It just breaks Arjuna Alter's concentration. It slows down his charging for a little bit, but he is actually struck by the arrow, and it does confuse him a little bit. He's like, what?
Well, yeah, because I don't think it necessarily does damage, but it does hit. It got through whatever defenses he had, I guess that's what
yeah,
to say.
I almost feel like the arrow actually, like, hit the glowing ball or something, and, like, distracted him. It's like, what?
Again, we needed those few seconds.
Yeah, we did. Well, because Doman's like, haha. Doman does all of the evil villain, you know, monologuing shit for Arjuna because Arjuna doesn't say more than like 5 words at a time.
It's all like trivial, useless.
This conversation is pointless. It's over. Bye. This is not perfection. Remove imperfection. Delete. Exterminate. Arjuna Alter is now kind of like the dollar. But so Doman does all the emoting for him, which is a great relationship as far as villains go, right? Mm-hmm. Now that I still don't want to slap Doman's smug, stupid face.
I'm ready for 5.5.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure he's got playable units, so he's got some boss fights in there. I'm gonna slap the shit out of him. I'm gonna boot him snow hard. Probably suplex him, because I'll probably have to use extra classes, because there's no real anti-alter ego unit other than Kama. And as cool as Kama is, you can't build a team out of just Kama.
No.
Can I? No.
But
I mean, if I can find somebody with support Kama, which I would hope they would.
I mean, Kama's on my permanent story setup.
She's pretty useful for story shit with that 50% battery and that guts. Like I said, I also used her a lot because there were a lot of Berserker and Rider enemies in here, which was very easy. Kama's got a cheap battery, she's got a powerful hit, and she's got a big guts.
Devil's Leader, you know what you've done. I need to make that time out. I need to make that banner kind of roll because you earned it. You earned it right there. You know you did.
What are you doing? You know I can't do Scotty. That's not how that works.
I like to imagine, Kama literally, again, they have soft confirmed that OQ did happen, and I'm guessing the reason that Kama was able to get out is that literally Arjuna ate all the gods.
Yeah.
So
that allowed her to slip out, but also gave her a reason to fuck off. Like, she had a reason to leave. She was like, nope, not staying here.
Nope. But I do find it hilarious that I pretty much, even though it is not canonical, I basically drug her back. It's like, nope, we're going back. She's just like, no!
She makes her useless goddess face as she has to shoot space love lasers at people. This is literally the worst. A crocodile explodes in the distance. The worst. I mean, she did have to slurp up giant ghost Domon into her space arms. That's probably pretty gross.
Yeah, no.
That's like, I'm gonna need a shower after this shit. But yeah, so William Tell gets a great death moment. Like, all the Lopaka get a pretty good moment. And I think this brings us up to our last few characters. We see him off and on, but Ashwadaman, Ash is a character here as well. I love the little interludes we get of him. Rage. Yeah, it's so illustrative when the screen just hard cuts to blackness with the word rage, and you're like, I see. He's a little angry.
I kind of wish that they kept the kanji and just maybe put rage on the side of it or something.
Maybe, but I do appreciate that they did go for kind of that calligraphy, like drawn style of the letter rage, right?
Yeah, that's right. Wrath.
Yeah, like it's good. And yes, he's pissed off all the time. Literally all the time. Even when he joins our side, he's like yelling at everybody. And Gina goes like, okay, I'm not going to pressure. Stop yelling.
It's like, man, I feel bad about this, but that pisses me off too.
Please stop yelling. I have a complex.
I do find it hilarious that he usually does feel bad about, constantly yelling and being angry, but that just makes him more angry.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
I think somebody said it best when talking about other stuff, when talking about, like, who gets classed as what, that, like, the reason why, like, Ashwadaman isn't an Avenger is because he got his vengeance. His legend, where we see him, ends with him murdering most of the Pandavas faction at night and getting his revenge for his dead dad, and then he gets super cursed to not die. Like, he gets wandering Jew cursed or something of that tier.
Much Cain.
So, like, he's still really pissed off, but he's already self-actualized his vengeance. It literally has nowhere to go. And also, he does explain kind of why he has the anger feedback loop, because if he wasn't angry, he would just be non-functional, because working for Arjuna fucking sucks. But still, we do see a decent amount of him. We have to fight him, we have to calm him down, we kind of work back and forth. He has a very interesting bance, like, as a servant to Pepe. I think it's very interesting. They're kind of back and forth. Because Pepe's kind of whole thing is that he's just like, no, I know exactly how my life's going to turn out. I know it's just going to be kind of average, and I'm probably not going to do great at stuff, but I'm fine. Whatever. Self-actualization, bitch.
He knows his lot of life. He knows his lot of life and has come to accept it.
Yeah, and Ashwadaman is just like, that pisses me off, man. But whatever.
I do like how Pepe is at the end. It's like, well, you can just get mad for me, and Ashman's like, fuck yeah, that makes me mad.
Which fits the master servant dynamic insanely. But yeah, so we do have some back and forth. He's very important for the plot. He does the time travel thing we talked about earlier, where he uses his connection to Shiva to use one of Shiva's powers to time travel. Didn't know about that one. Not surprised, though. And then, when his spirit core is on its last legs, he goes to the servant waiting room, servant limbo, and dials up Karna, and they have a fucking hyperbolic time chamber montage. They're like, hey, we're in the space between spaces and time is infinite. What should we do? Karna's like, I must train. And Ash is like, what? And Karna has great logic for this. He's like, no, listen. To undergo his plan, Arjuna must have undergone hellish training to reach this level. Therefore, I will also train.
This means Karna is fucking Goku, and Ash is fucking Vegeta.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it makes perfect sense, too.
Yes, no. And they do the training, and this is a great fight, because it's a story-related fight that should happen, but you literally can't lose it, because Ash has unlimited guts.
The thing that tickled me is in the corner, you don't have command cells, and your character's picture is not there.
No, you are just literally fighting with no support. You were just fighting on your own. You've got one story support. You have no command seals, no nothing, no master skills. You're just fighting. And as you chip down Karna's bars, he's like, yes, getting better, getting a feel for it, working it in, and then the motherfucker shows back up. He appears behind you and is like, yo, I'm back. The music swells. It's great.
Because basically, Jinako falls into your arms and looks over your shoulders and see him majestically on a cliff, because that's how I like to imagine it.
Shining like the sun.
Because he is.
And then he hops down and he's like, alright, cool, I've got a plan. We've shown Arjuna Alter that he's not perfect, he's fallible, he's gonna come down to us, and I'm gonna clap his cheeks. And then you do that. then you Doman interferes, but you boop him, and then you boop him pretty far, and Arjuna's like, this does not compute, excuse me. And he flies off to go to the tree. But yeah, it's a great moment with Karna. That comeback is so great. I don't think so.
We haven't talked about the captain.
Oh yeah, this is a good time as any. You're right. The captain is a character we mentioned right away because he joins us, and he gets a lot of growth in this chapter. And there's a lot of unsubtle hints about who the captain is. The Aranax Phantasm literally saying he's no one to Lakshmi Bai.
Now, some people did actually say, like, I think they have a fair point, that even if you have the clues, if you don't have context for the clues, you won't get it, because not everyone's read fucking 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I mean, it's true, but it's one of those things where, like I said, I phrased this to some other people in another moment. I don't think it's a spoiler, because the context of the story is not trying to hide it at all. It is not necessarily a reveal. They're just throwing out facts, and if you don't know them and don't Google them, because you're like, I don't know what that word means, you miss it, but they're not necessarily hiding it, right? Unlike, there have absolutely been some, what the fuck, you're this character moments in Fate before. It's very interesting how they play it up. But yeah, so, spoilers, he's Captain Nemo. Yeah. Now, obviously, he is a phantom spirit. They do mention that he is bonded with another entity, a deity of the sea later. Yeah, so...
actually... Wait, can you not hear me? Oh, no.
There you go. Now we're good.
Oh, no.
We're fine. Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
We did lag for a second. We've been recording a long time.
Actually, what is the mission clock, by the way?
We were at almost 4 hours.
Yeah, I hope you guys like them big.
They do, the animals.
So, this is something that they explain, because, as I said, Sion basically took that Phantom Spirit and slapped it with a Greek deity, Triton.
Yes. God of the sea, son of Poseidon.
And they say that when that happens, Mash is all like, I recognize this familiar warm feeling. And Nemo's like, yeah, no, I was out there at the shadow border. I was going to try and give you, like, a nudge to there. And this made me upset, because clearly I was hoping it'd be, Big Dragon Mama Tiamat being there. Because here's the thing I find weird. When we first, did we ever run into, Triton at any point before?
No, and I don't even remember this, by the way, from translations of this story. I don't remember a lot of people mentioning this. It's an interesting detail to write in.
Because it's Mash calls it a warm, familiar feeling. I'm all like, it's only familiar if you felt it before. If we haven't run into this character, why is it familiar?
Yeah, it's true, and I believe in the original she describes it as kind of a familiar feeling as well. It's like, what's this weird protective sense? I feel like I felt it somewhere before. Unless there's like a weird continuity thing. Yeah, it feels like it's a not reveal where they're just like, oh yeah, no, I patrol in shadow space and I nudged you guys. And that seems oddly specific.
Yeah, I'm like,
I know that ties into an event we do later, but still, I was also a little disappointed. I was like, oh. And also, by the way, I was immediately like, Lucky's gonna be disappointed too.
He called it.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll turn out to be a double bluff later, but yeah, it seems like a little bit of just like an oddly phrased plot twist to just have a plot twist.
Yeah, but like I said, I like the captain. I like his sass. Very sass. But
and we're confronted with the Sea of Milk is the thing, right? We mentioned this before. But the Sea of Milk hasn't been depoisoned because they talk about how in the mythology to create the world they churned the Sea of Milk with the Serpent King, and then he puked up all his venom into it. And the reason why Shiva is blue is because he drank all the poison. But we don't have anybody around to do that, so we have to cross the sea, which is super poisonous and would melt the shadow border very fast. But luckily, the captain can activate the Aranax Phantasm and pseudo-summon the Nautilus, his noble phantasm, and basically transforms the shadow border into a ship which can travel 20,000 leagues under the sea. Which also, by the way, is actually true. Like, Captain Nemo does crazy shit in the novel.
Yeah, no, the Nautilus was his fucking baby. He put in a lot of weird systems, including a full organ for no goddamn reason. He just wanted to play the fucking pipes.
In case you didn't know, the Captain Nemo was also super extra. But yeah, no, he created an electric submarine that has a ram on it that can ram ships, and he does a lot of the stuff he talks about. He hides out in undersea volcanoes, he fights krakens, giant squids basically, but the same, he fights an animal that scientifically wasn't yet proven to exist. He rams British ships. He
hates the British. He really, really hates the British.
Yeah, this was not clear in the original novel, but Jules Verne did write some sequels, and this comes out in this. No, he was part of the Sepoy Rebellion. Which
also comes out here in Lostbelt.
Yeah, that's exactly. They bring it up. Which, in case you didn't know, they talk about this a little, but basically the reason why Lakshmi Bai's state of Jhansi rebelled was because there were some Sepoy soldiers, some Spathi mercenaries, or kind of mercenaries, kind of unpaid military interns of the British East India Company who were like, hey, we're tired of not getting paid enough to go die, and also not being treated like full citizens, so fuck you, actually. And they rebelled and killed the British garrison in Jhansi, and did kind of leave Lakshmi Bai holding the bag a little bit, guys. They kind of fucked off and left her responsible, but to be fair, she didn't necessarily surrender and try to appease the British either.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Britain that time, they weren't the most forgiving type.
Well, yeah, Lakshmi Bai was already in a bad political position because her husband died and she did not have an heir, and the British had a literal system where their colonial government would seize ownership of the various kingdoms, the princedoms, if they did not have a legal heir, and they did not recognize adopted heirs. She tried to adopt a kid and say, this kid's the heir, and Britain was like, no, that's not how it works. This kid didn't come out of your womb, he's not the heir. We're going to take your land. And that's kind of why she fought so hard in the end. Fought him to the last at Gwalar Castle, another of her skills. But yeah, so all throughout this Lostbelt, Nemo has been feeling kind of bad. He's like, hey, I know Lakshmi Bai in real life. I don't want to bring it up because she might be a little annoyed. He feels kind of bad about leaving her in the lurch, and honestly leaving India in the lurch. Like, he built his super secret submarine and fucked off.
But see, this is the crazy thing, though. This is a fictitious character, like, knowing a real character. And
an allegedly fictitious character. Remember, Lucky, literary agent hypothesis.
Yes, true. But still, we know him from a work of fiction.
Well, and to be fair, Lakshmi never says for sure she knows him. She just knows that he's familiar, and they talk like old comrades. And when she hears that he was part of the Seaplane Rebellion, she's like, yes, we are comrades. She never is like, because obviously she would have been dead by the time he was Captain Nemo of the Nautilus. She's never like, yes, I remember the young Prince so-and-so, pioneer of submarines that are also electric. Like, it is interesting. But yeah, so the captain activates his noble phantasm, sails the scary seas, which is good because we need that power to sail to Atlantis.
Listen, there's a lot of creepy shit in Greek seas.
Yeah, it's a high ether sea full of literal monsters.
Here there be dragons.
Because remember from your Odyssey, Scylla and Charybdis, where Charybdis is just a monster that makes a whirlpool.
Yeah, giant mouth, and Charybdis has just super fun looking tentacles that will just pluck men off to eat.
Yeah, Scylla has a ring of her legs are tentacles, and she has a ring of 3 dog mouths at her waist, which all also need, or is it 7? I don't remember. It's a lot of dog heads that need to be filled, otherwise she's not satisfied. Scylla, or possibly Scylla, by the way, canonically a berserker. She's a canon servant. Why the fuck we haven't seen her, I don't know, but keep that in mind.
Give more Monster Girls.
Monster Girls who would have funny, terrifying interactions with Kirky, because in some versions of Scylla's myth, it's Kirky's fault she's turned into a monster. Because Kirky absolutely cursed her ass with potions. She can't. It's not just pigs she can turn you into. She can also turn you into a monster girl.
I almost want to bet that it was kind of maybe fate would spin it as an accident.
It would either be spun as an accident, or it would be spun as a reminder of like the fact that Kirky's not necessarily a good lady, and kind of like the I'm a witch. What do you expect? She was getting in, and there was a guy I was interested. I thought he was cute. Well, the Fenris thing is even more of a letdown because we learned out through like a light novel or a web chapter supplement that Fenrir is canon to Extra Last Encore. The pink-haired chick summoned Fenrir as her servant, and then he just like fucked off and died before she did anything. She got lost on like the 3rd floor and didn't do anything, and none of this was shown on screen. What the fuck, Nasu?
Who the fuck does Fenrir lose to? Jesus.
Well, I think it was Rhyme's floor, so it's like Fenrir doesn't lose per se, but he loses because it's an existential crisis. So yeah, it's a wild trip. Like I brought that up before. I talked about how I was utterly bamboozled by the fact that they skipped this because I'm like, that's very interesting. No, Fenrir is not weak to traps. Literally, they played a game with the Acer played a game with Fenrir of, can you break these cuffs? And he always broke the cuffs. They had to get the dwarves to make 3 chains made of impossible things to chain his ass down.
The Gleipnir, if I remember.
Yeah, the Gleipnir with the 3. Which is one of his...
And one of the dudes had to lose a fucking arm to do it still.
Yes. To quote Red's version of this telling, Fenrir got kind of suspicious, so he said that, okay, you can chain me up, but one of you got to put your hand in your mouth. And so his best buddy, Tyr, put his hand in Fenrir's mouth. And they locked him down, and they wouldn't let him out. And that's why Tyr is the one-handed. Tyr and Fenrir were bros, BTS. And then Ragnarok.
Look at you, Wild. You have the weirdest kids.
That reminds me, I need to watch that show. First episode of Marvel's Loki is out now, and I haven't watched it yet. I don't have time, okay? I've been being Lostbelt and trying to do other stuff, doing so many things. Doing Hades runs. Anyway, we've talked about the captain. I'm glad he's going to be a recurring character, and I believe he's permanent later.
Yes, Dallas actually got a spook of him.
That's right, Dallas got
his femboy superiority continues.
But it's pretty cool to see him evolve. And to see, because we know from his Noble Phantasm later that there are the Nemo Marines, right? Like, he eventually gets the power to shadow clone himself or whatever.
I think he kind of has the ability now, because he was talking about how there was a laundry type earlier, and Holmes was all like, "Oh, I thought I saw another one running around."
So maybe he because it's not his full Nautilus, he can't get a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's explicitly shown on screen yet. It's just hinted at.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not because he doesn't have the Nautilus, he can't have the crew of the Nautilus, you know? But maybe he can use, a degraded version of it.
But we are slowly building up to him completing the Nautilus, because he mentions that because he was a weird phantom spirit summon who was not summoned in the ocean, he can't just whip out the Nautilus like if he was a normal servant. So we have to build up to his Noble Phantasm and turn the Shadow Border into a Nautilus, which is cool.
Oh, does that mean we're just going to upgrade the Shadow Border?
I assume it's kind of going to be like what we did with how the Shadow Border was in that shipping crate. We're just going to park the Shadow Border as the cockpit of the Nautilus and build it around us.
It's going to be like Megas XLR.
Which hopefully means that if we need to go on land again, we can just eject the Shadow Border from the Nautilus.
I hope maybe we can get a launch catapult.
We can get a gun for our car that has a gun for our servants. Who's MASH and has a gun. We're gonna build the railgun chain of MASH. The Wandering Sea is gonna get a catapult to launch the Nautilus, which will launch the Shadow Border, which will launch MASH, who then fires her gun.
That's some Gurren Lagann level shit right there.
Yep.
Yes, chicks do dig the giant submarines.
I mean, I've seen some sub ladies in Azure Lane, especially that sort of big sub.
Big sub.
Yeah. So this leads us up to our final confrontation. Karna goes Super God, Karna Super Karna.
I believe they called it the Tri-God form, because...
Yeah, the fiery robe of three gods, I think, is the name of the costume.
Yeah.
Because he's got Ashvadam and Spirit Core, which is linked to Shiva. And then Rama, who, we didn't mention this at all, but the reason why Ash was working with Arjuna was that he was cursed. Arjuna was able to hit him with Krishna's curse, which means you're immortal, but also you're in pain all the time. So, sucks.
Much suck.
So Rama does the smart thing, and he's like, oh, I'm connected to the same divinity that Krishna is. I can't delete Krishna's curse because I'm not the same god as him, but I can just steal his curse and put it on me.
Is it your curse? My curse.
And the way he phrases it is it puts him at about 50% power. I don't know how true that is, because it sure sounds or looks like he's sucking it up a lot, but that's what he says anyway, that it reduces him to about 50% power. Unfortunately, against God Arjuna, even if he's starting to have mortal boy thoughts, 50% is not going to cut it. So he gives his Brahmastra to Karna as well. So now he has the authority of three deities within him. And he transforms into his big red form to fight Arjuna's big blue form. And they fight. And I gotta be real, this boss fight sucks. It sucks the big one. It's hard. I know honestly, they give Karna super cool buffs and stuff.
It's not enough!
Guts, but goddamn, this is just I can't imagine doing this fight pure. What do? Have your own Ganesha, I guess? I don't know. I did this with Team Tentacle, but once he gets to that wave where he just gets the Pierce Invul and Auto MP, it's well, he's immune to debuffs, so what the fuck do I do, game?
You just take it. That's the thing. The only thing you can do is take it. Either that or you have, Guts.
Yeah, I guess Guts, but, hey, when I was trying to set this up, my Asclepius would be level 1, so... What's the one before the big Arjuna God fight? Is that the Domon double fight?
Yeah, that was the Domon, and then you fight one part.
Yeah, that I had to use seals on. That was also tough, but that's because that was 2 boss fights back to back. So it was hard for me to punch Domon and then pivot to punching Arjuna Alter. It's hard with only 6 slots, guys.
Listen, man, I could probably
for the Arjuna fight. I had to use a quartz.
Yeah, because here's the thing: no matter what, if you hit your same servant twice, they're dead. They're just fucking dead.
Yeah, his crit rate is enormous. And then he will get a free row wipe, he wipes out everybody in the row. It was just rough. Yeah, I had to spend it. I had to basically do 2 fights worth of damage to him, and so I did. This is after, by the way, he gets powered up by the tree. We talked about this. The tree opens the fuck up. It unveils its true form in a great bit of animation. Yeah, I didn't roll one though. I would have loved to apply Arenas to this fight, but I didn't get her in tickets, so we're gonna see how that goes. I think honestly, it's just I understand what they're going for with the debuff immunity. It's too rude. I think it's too rude for a final boss. not being able to stun or stall his NP or anything is really hard. And obviously, yes, Abigail can remove his buffs, but only if in that exact moment she is able to fire her NP, which is not all the time. Abigail's not really... I know Abigail has 3 arts cards. She's not really good at spamming her NP.
You know, and again, even on foreigners, like 2 to 3 hits, they're done.
No, foreigners aren't that tanky. It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough fight. I get what they're going for, but I feel like they relied a little too heavily on RNG for it. I'm sure there are people who are, like, you know, doing it in minimum number of turns or whatever with, like, very specific grilled setups, but, like, I hate when I can't look at a fight, know some of the rules, and go, well, I have these servants who are good against this class and have these status effects, blah, 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 and win this way, and it's just like, nah, but actually, fuck you. You don't actually have the tools for this. I'm like, okay, all right, game. I'll spend the quartz. Like I said, I think I said this at the start of this, like, 4 hours ago, but I'm almost back up to where I was before I did my extra 10 roll anyway, off just daily master missions and getting, like, extra quartz from, like, free quests and rank ups and shit, so not a big loss. And then for the actual tree fight and cryptor fight, great moment, by the way. I love this turnaround, right? Like, yay, we beat Arjuna. Now we have to cut down the tree. And Karna's like, yeah, but we also can't. I'm done.
Well, actually,
go.
Pepe does the thing where he just, you know, stands in front.
Yeah, that's right. He stands menacingly in front, clearly posing.
I don't even want to say menacingly. Pepe's just being Pepe.
Okay, maybe not menacingly, but you know Pepe.
Yeah, no, he definitely has, like, maybe he has some hip angles. Maybe he has his hands above his head.
We see the alien lady several times, actually. We should talk about her as well.
Yeah, Pepe calls her you. As in, like, letter U.
Yeah.
Just you.
Very interesting. And we have a couple of moments. Yeah, she's called the Observer and other stuff. But we have a couple of moments. She's lurking silently during a lot of Arjuna's god meetings. She has some quote-unquote conversation with Pepe, but also she shows up to us. At night, when we're going to have that talk with Lakshmi Bai, she just shows up. It sounds like she's trying to give us a message, but we just can't speak, and then she goes away. She's just like, all right, fine. So I think seeing her kind of lets Pepe know that it's like, no, you're right, I gotta stand up for my dreams. And he's like, okay, we must fight. And we'll talk about why Pepe decides to do that when I think we do a big breakdown of his character, because this is one of the few times that we get a complete package, including arguably character growth out of a Cryptor and a Lostbelt, right? Like, they're usually pretty good about writing them as characters that we see, but Pepe is arguably the most dynamic because we're literally hanging out with him all the time.
You know, I remember this from the CM where you just see Pepe chilling with Match at the campfire, he gives the wink out, and you're just like, what is happening?
And that's an actual scene. It's very weird. But so, Ash comes back using what's left of Karna's spirit energy, because Karna used up all his juice to kill Arjuna, which is true.
And I do like the fact that Karna was basically pretty okay with it. He's all like, yeah, my time's up, I'm gonna give it back, and
he apologizes like he does it first. He's like, I would love to see this to the end, but this dude helped me come back, and he says it's his turn now, so I'm kind of out of juice, so I'm gonna step over here now. And then Ash comes back, and Pepe seals the contract again. Mm-hmm. And then we get our Cryptor boss fight, plus Tree Reef! And this fight was not super difficult for me.
No, it wasn't hard.
Because I have an NP2 Aresh, guys. She's AoE, she nukes stuff good. And also, I have an NP3 Tamalancer. Are you a man and an archer? Say goodbye to your penis, it's exploded. Like, it was pretty simple, and I just did Team Tentacle on the backlash to mop up that tree. Love the animations on the tree, though. Like, everything being so, like, red and spacey this time was really cool. I love all the different vibes the trees had. But yeah, we have a knockdown drag out. Pepe does what everybody does on a hard fight in FGO and uses all 3 of his seals very rapidly. And it's a very interesting dynamic because this is like, Karna drops on him like, it's fine, you can have your servant back. By the after dunking on Arjuna, where he's like, hey, Arjuna, do you know the difference between you and me? And he points at you. And it's like, I have companions, human companionship. You're all alone, my dude. Even with all your divinities. And then Arjuna yells Karna's name and explodes. I imagine he explodes. It's got to be like the end of DBZ. They have a fucking CG for this of the two fighting. Like, no. Call me some Cloverworks. Dial up UFO table. This needs to be animated. This entire fight would be one episode, and it would be the raddest. But it's pretty cool. But so we do defeat the tree. We defeat Ash. We have this last moment of the two together where they're kind of like, well, we tried. It's cool. You keep being you, Master. I'm gonna go now. Bye.
Pepe does pull out, the fucking, say they're gonna use the Cirrus light again, which
yes,
they still haven't explained yet, but Ashman's like, nah, man, you lost. And Pepe's just like, oh, you're right.
yeah, you're right, I lost. I won't use my serious light command seal. And then his servant's gone, and then basically we're like, alright, Pepe, you had your fun, you're going back in the box, and he's like, nah.
Hey, Koyaskaya, can I get a lift one way? Boom, appears.
And yeah, she says one of her great lines about capitalism. NFF Services is here to provide. One lift coming up.
Pepe makes a comment about deal with devils.
Talmo does not flinch. Nope. But this guy is like, it's fine. We'll talk about the price later. Bye, nerds. Like, we also get a lot of Konitskaya Tamovich in this segment, but I don't think it's anything really new. We already know from 3 that she's willing to work with us. Like, she spills a decent amount of information, like she acts as a source of exposition. But
like again, and I'm starting to get to the feeling that Koyaskaya might be trying to lie to herself a little bit about what she wants, because she does drop in this Lostbelt that her goal is to achieve 9 tails and surpass the original Talamo.
Yes,
basically,
which would probably, we alluded to this earlier in mailbag. The way that we talk about Tamamo, that would probably make her at least power level the equivalent of a beast, which would also explain her super fucking heavy spirit origin.
Yep.
But also, I talked about this as well. Earlier, she explicitly says that she does not love or need humans. Mm-hmm. And her skill when she blows up those waves of Kali is described as anti-humanity.
Yes. But despite her saying that, haven't you noticed that despite her evil and wicked ways, usually in Lostbelt she's actually helping out humans after a fashion?
She helps out humans in her own weird sadistic way. Like, she loves to see humans suffer. She has been she goes out of her way, even though she knows that Arjuna will not be afraid to call her evil and delete her ass. She goes out of her way to give humans reminders of the people they lost, which, coincidentally, gives them the motivation to tell Arjuna to fuck off and fight back.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Like, in Lostbelt 1, you know, She
makes the Yaga fight for food, but she does have food to give them, which is completely antithetical to their normal way of life.
Yeah. Lostbelt 2, I can't necessarily say, but she was, you know, talking with Ophelia and trying to get that girl to understand herself.
Yeah, she, like, obviously, again, her sadism is showing through. She said things to kind of make Ophelia suffer, but she was still trying to get her to realize that, like, hey, girlfriend, you're in a bad fucking position, okay? Like, if you don't start looking out for yourself first, bad shit's gonna happen to you.
Yeah, no, so, again, like, Tamovich, she kind of mentions this ever since LB3, she's been feeling off, and she attributes this to, you know, being drilled through a bunch of holes and whatnot, but, like I said, I think...
I think it's interesting that in her worldview, we go from product to customer, right? Like,
yeah, we haven't switched back yet, honestly.
No, yeah. At no point does she feel the need to switch off of that to us. She's like, oh, these guys are here. I can cut a deal. Like, she instantly, instead of being just like, these guys are nuisances, or I need to, like, sell information, and they're like, oh, I can cut a deal with these guys. They'll get me out of here, no problem. It's the most adorable sprite, by the way, when she hitchhikes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also, LB3, like, again, there wasn't necessarily a humor, but, like, considering she poisoned the cake and left it just anywhere, I find that a very lackadaisical as a way to kind of try to kill somebody.
And she leaves behind the antidote when she didn't necessarily have to. Like, it's a whole thing. Tamamo has rules in how she operates. Tamovich has rules. She has the rules of business.
Oh, like another one in this Lostbelt. Like, she says she's only going to give you so much information, but when she finds out that you're treating her as a guest, not a prisoner, she's like, oh, wait, the information I have given you is not clearly worth enough.
Right.
So, yeah, no, she definitely has rules, and
she has her worldview is fit. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a thing like, oh, I cannot allow myself to owe humans something. I will repay them because humans would be shitty and not repay, right? Like, I could see it being a reflection of her opinion of humanity, but it's absolutely like she has rules on how things work.
Mm-hmm. And again, she might not be playing, she's not necessarily playing on the same side of everyone else. Tamovich is on Tamovich's side.
No, she fucking hates Doman. It's very clear. She's like, listen, I feel it's very interesting, by the way, given that we know that it's Doman, and there's no way that, even if she's not got the same relationship that regular Tamamo does, there's no way that Vich would get along with Abe no Seimei, right?
Oh, yeah.
But also, she's like, that Doman motherfucker, though, that certain shitty monk.
Well, that's because I believe that Abe no Seimei is also kind of in the same temperament as fucking Merlin.
Yes, that's very much established. They have, I don't think there's any cross-contamination, but if you were to think of Abe no Seimei as the Merlin of Japan, you would not be wrong. Like, he has a similar mythical status. He's only half human. His mother was a fucking kitsune. Like, he is known to be very, like, temperamental and arguably weird at times. he's often portrayed in like anime and stuff as very quirky.
So yeah, no. So I can kind of see it, like, it's just it might be not that Vanilla Tomomo doesn't like her because it caused her downfall and whatnot, but just because he's just kind of a weird fuckboy.
Yeah, but Vitch is very clear that like not she always refers to him as the shitty monk. Like she never calls him by name. She won't sell him out 100% because that would be against her rules, her deal with the foreign god. But she makes it not unclear that like, oh yeah, there's no rules that say we the alter egos have to work together.
Mm-hmm. So again, we're getting spoonfuls of.
I also love how she completely repairs her outfit off screen.
I like how someone comments and like, why is no one commenting about this?
Yeah, Munier notices. He's like, "Are we not going to talk about how the fact that her outfit got fixed off screen?" I'm like, "Nah."
It's fine. Magical fox powers.
And she also gets into some tussles. Like, yes, she helps us out by shooting at divine beasts because they're going to eat her. But like, she gets into a fight with Ash, and she's like, "Oh, but for just a little hero like you, I'm going to eat your whole spirit origin in a couple of bites."
And I was a little intimidated.
Yeah, no, she gets her serious face on, and you're like, "Damn, no, you scary. You're still scary."
Yeah, no. So again, it's like Tomovich does not bring everything to bear against stuff, and I for one appreciate that.
Yeah, but so she helps Pepe fuck off where he can continue to be a supporting character in the next Lostbelt, arguably, because he's going to go see Wodaime and Kadok.
Actually, yeah, that is yeah, no, I think that's the only reason that Tomovich kind of got beat up is because Hot Wheels literally cannot die.
Yeah, no, and she explained this to us. She's like, nah, he's really immortal, guys. Trust me, I tried.
She was able to punch his teeth down his throat. I'm honestly pretty sure that was literal.
Yeah, she was able to not have him seriously injure her, as seen by the fact that she just covers up her injuries immediately, right? Mm-hmm. But did make her use enough power that she can't hop world lines, and so she has to ask us for help and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna get deleted. Let me on." And Gordolf is just like, "What?
Another great use of what?"
Mm-hmm. Also a great moment where he calls out that like he clearly thinks that Munier is gonna be vulnerable to Tomovich's charms, and he's like, "No, you got to pay attention. You look like you spend a lot of time indoors. You don't have a lot of girlfriends.
You're probably like saying 2D is the best.
But just in case, I'm going to dab on some cologne just to be safe." And Munier is like, "Just to be safe of what?" Like, I do like that I don't think Munier absolutely denies 100% of what Gordolf says, but he's also like, "Okay, director, but clearly you are the problem here."
We don't talk about Munier enough. Sometimes
he's great. He gets a lot of lines in this because, for once, we actually spend a lot of time in and out of his shadow border. Like,
this is something actually. This is another cool point. When we are stuck in the shadow border for a pip, you don't go to a map screen.
No, you go to a shadow border background, and I love it. Yeah, it's a great effect. It really makes you feel like you have temporarily left the world.
Like, I thought that was a great effect. But yeah. Munier
he's a great supporting character,
which is interesting. Like I wasn't necessarily expecting him to necessarily hang out this long.
Yeah, we have a small crew of Chaldeans. I do believe there is a girl Chaldea employee who's named. You see her a couple of times in the anime for Babylonian stuff and other FGO stuff. Like she's
I believe you see her in the prologue as well.
Yes, but she doesn't get a lot of screen time. I assume her function is not as vital as Munier's, because he's like
he's one of the operators of the Shadow Border.
Yeah, he's part of the tech crew, and he acts as the straight man to Gordolf for the most part, because you can't really call Sherlock Holmes and Leonardo da Vinci the straight man.
No, they throw just as many fucking.
Well, and da Vinci's small Da Vinci is a cheeky little brat.
She's a gremlin.
Yeah,
I love her, but she's a gremlin.
Absolutely a gremlin. No,
she's put on rollerblades.
Like, and Da Vinci doesn't get out a lot in this. She mostly lectures us or spends time in her tube, but that's because the Shadow Border is under operation a lot, and they need to be ready. But no, like, I like Munier as a supporting character because he, like I said, plays that straight man. He can directly call out the director on his nonsense without necessarily, like, feeling like it's gonna, like, either threaten Gordolf's authority, but also, like, without bogging out the story. He can just be like, "Dude, you're crazy." Or he's like, "Holy shit, did you just, like, drift in this thing?" Great moments for all. And, yeah, then we have the last two pips. They make us go through one more section of the Lostbelt after we've won all the fights of sadness. That's when Asclepius dies, and that's when we kind of explain things to Asha, because Mash and us, the player character, really couldn't face her down after her dad got eaten from time-space. Like, it was just like, no, I'm not. Like, Mash is, like, on the verge of tears. She's just like, "Senpai, I thought I could talk to this girl, but I can't. We gotta go. We gotta fix this problem. This is fucked up. I'm done." But Smash also is like, we gotta tell her what's up. I don't feel right about leaving her behind after we've been through so much with her. So they explain that, the twisted Yuga cycle is gonna end. Their god is gone. But also, I called this moment bittersweet earlier. They leave her and all the people with a little nugget of hope. Like, as Lakshmi is going away, she talks about, like, she definitely believes in proper reincarnation, and that these people will return in another form someday. They will get a chance to release their karma. And Asha kind of reflects this thought as she goes to sleep that night. Thinking about, like, yes, she's crying because there's a person she's missing, but she's also thinking about how if proper reincarnation is restored, she can live her life again and meet those people again. And it's like, wow, that's one of the few times a Lostbelt has ended with I feel like a proper bittersweet moment, right? Like, leaving you with this idea that they could be reincarnated in some other place, some other time. Because the Lostbelts 1 and 3 for sure are kind of this like, just gentle go to sleep moment. Like, we play out the last call, right? We go down with the ship like those violinists on the Titanic, but it's not really happy. And arguably Lostbelt 2 just still gets me every time. I don't know if there's anything sweet about that. Like, it's just, Gerda has no fucking clue what's going on, and she's just like, what if I'll see those guys again? Maybe if I just do a little jump, and then it's just over. And I'm like, why did you write this like this? I'm on the floor now. I did the reverse of jumping. I have fallen down.
Gravity, why are you so strong? Oh, wait, no, it's just my heart's that heavy.
Oh, it's really heavy all of a sudden. But, like, it's interesting that this has this moment where, like I said, it's really, really fucking sad, but also it's like, for once these people have, like, a hope for the future, and they're like, wow, this is weird.
Well, I think
it's an interesting writing moment.
To be fair, it's like, again, we're talking about, like, Hindu mythology when where reincarnation is a big thing. There's a lot of gods who are like, I was this, but now I'm this. I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah.
So, like, that is, and especially since this whole story has been about, this improper cycle, maybe now they can finally get back to the proper cycle. It's like, ugh.
Also, yes, Dax, I don't know, you're just being an animal. It's called writers.
Yeah. What do you want it to do, to evoke no emotion out of you, Axe?
No, you gotta have feelings. Because that's the thing. The setup is fucked up, especially somebody mentioned, did we see the CE? Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, but the CE is this. So if the ending makes you feel bittersweet, the CE description is the fucking slaughterhouse. It's the waterworks opening. Like, it's just damn. Ow.
No, like, here's the thing, Axe. No one can force you to cry. I cannot force you to feel an emotion. In order for you to feel emotion, it has to basically resound with you in some form or fashion. Otherwise, you feel nothing.
Well, and it's like, is Lostbelt? I don't know about that though.
No.
It's kind of it's an interesting take on this. But no, like Lostbelt 2, I don't think it's forced. It's reminding you of the consequences. When will you learn your actions have consequences? Basically, like, yeah, no, Gerda is gone. Like, and with the way the story is written, I think we might be cutting out a little bit. Sorry. But what I was saying was, with the way the story of Lostbelt 2 is written, they have to remind you of the stakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your actions have consequences, and with the way those characters are, with Scotty running out of juice basically and dying beforehand, there's really no other character to remind you that it's over now than Gerda, and that child was literally innocent. She had no concern for her life, and so that's kind of how it ends, just like how it begins.
Also, Axe, if I tell you constantly to stop being sad and to be happy, will you be able to do that? No, you won't. I can't force you to feel shit.
I mean, it's an interesting process of provoking emotional responses.
Yeah.
But the CE description is just a motherfucker of like, hey, you know how she was just her and her dad man? Well, she actually had a huge fucking family. And you're like, ooh. Oof.
The fact that you just find that out after everything, I think really...
Because that's how fucked up this world was. You didn't even get a chance to learn, right? Like,
yeah.
That's how bad it already was. You thought it was bad this chick, this tiny baby child lost her dog and her dad. Well, guess what? Those were only the last two in a long list of fucking painful things.
And no one remembers them.
But that's okay. There was that cat boy who did all that. We slapped him real good. Doman exploded a little bit at the end. Like, he's fine, but it did at least cost him, and he didn't get what he wanted.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly. But here's the thing: we don't exactly know what he wanted.
True. We don't know for sure. I'm assuming we'll find out at least by the time we get to Lostbelt 5.5. He's very interested in certain experiments with these things, and I like how Sherlock calls out something we've been talking about for a couple of Lostbelts now, that Shimosa was basically a baby Lostbelt.
Yeah, the proto.
Yeah, it's a very similar effect.
Bad things are bad, Axe. No matter no matter what.
Also, you say we have no choice. We do have a choice, though, right? That's the whole moral of this story. When you have to choose between oblivion and doing wrong, you can choose to do nothing. And for everybody's own reasons, all of the characters in this story do choose to do something. But you can absolutely do the refusal ending of Mass Effect 3 that they added, where you're just like, no, fuck you, I refuse, and then you die. But some people are okay with that. Like, it's interesting. And, like, arguably, you can go with the Holmesian, it's Watsonian versus Doyleist perspective. The Doyleist perspective is, okay, well, the authors are quote-unquote forcing you to do this because the character, like, will go through these choices, but that's the point, though. The character resolves these choices as well, and hopefully through the character as an extension, we, the players, can resolve to make these choices too. Like, it's an extreme example, but Robin is correct. He's saying in chat, you can never complete another Lostbelt and you can uninstall FGO. Like, if you feel bad about the story, you can quit. It's just like reading a book, right? Like, if you feel like, oh, I don't like where this story is going, I don't like what the decisions these characters are making, you can be like, I'm done. Nah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, with the way FGO is phrased, that's kind of a big ask to be like, no, I want to quit now, but you could. You could decide you don't want to go through with this story and see where it ends. And given that Nasu has basically said, I will make you feel bad when this is over, but in a good way, that's a choice. That's a choice we're all making to deal with this shit. But I'm like, nah, but I love this writing, though.
Mm-hmm.
That I can understand, right? Like, not everybody emotes in the same way, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like if you, like, honestly, if you do not necessarily feel, like, the same way on your feelings, that's perfectly valid. Like, everyone feels different ways about certain things. But I think the thing I would definitely want to say is like, the story is trying to go for a specific feel.
Yes.
It's not trying to force that feel on you. It's hoping to get that feel out of you through its writing, and it won't hit for everybody.
And I think like the moment we got on this discussion was when you talked about like your feelings of frustration and bitterness at the writers, at the meta text. That I think is probably not but one, it's definitely not what the writers are trying to invoke, but also I think that's not usually the best way to react to stories that are trying to provoke a specific feel. Like, oh no, that asshole made me sad, Jiraiya died. No shit, but also the characters are all sad, and I'm really upset because I like that motherfucker. I like that guy, and he's dead now.
What? Jiraiya!
And it's, they all, once again, Naruto doesn't undersell it. The fucking OP they use for that's the flow song that starts with, I realize the screaming pain, but I'm going straight ahead with the scar, Lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, if your response is more, like, rational and, like, you feel bad for other people who have kind of these, like, strong provocations, like, I can get that. I would say don't feel bad for those people, though. Like, that's their own internalized or externalized emotional response. Like,
yeah.
if Lucky gets moved to tears by a piece, and you're just like, well, that's sad, I guess, but I don't know if I was moved to tears. That's like that's not about you. It's about Lucky's response. No, Lucky was moved to tears.
Actually,
was not moved to tears, but I was moved to very much sadness.
Like this is one of the things between Omega and I. It's like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I bawl at like a drop of a hat over the most emotional, like not over like necessarily like things like fucking man. I start crying if I just see like some good animation. I'm like, I'm moved. My heart.
I'm moved a lot too. Like, I think I've talked about like anime and stuff. I get like really emotional over a lot of different shit now that I'm older. But my emotional response is no longer to cry. I do not cry a lot these days. I think I talked about this. The last time I shed a single tear was when my beloved childhood cat died. But I still feel upset about these things, right? Like, it's still sad and disheartening.
Okay, so Axe is talking about people having the same response to the same thing, like over the course of years.
Well, I don't. Well, actually, also, I would say over the course of there's 2 points to this. And some of this is a conversation y'all can't see. Sorry about that. But this happens when people yell in chat, which Axe usually does as well. We've had plenty of discussions with other people as well. I'm not even sure Axe was here for the first hour of the show. No offense or anything. Just I'm like, was Axe here? But so there's 2 points to this. And first, the general idea about like feeling bad and then you get annoyed when people have the same response. Yeah, okay, I can see that. But like, if like the writing like reaches a point over and over again, some stories are cyclical or some stories are archetypal, right? Literally, in this case of the story, our current story talk is about a loop. So there is a certain emotional payoff to cyclical stories, especially if, to bring up Naruto, you break the cycle at the end. It's important. That's a kind of catharsis. But also in specific, like, people are upset about different characters because different characters are different. People are still upset about Romani, and we feel sad about him because We formed an emotional attachment to him literally for years. He was a constant presence in our lives in this story. He was a recurring character. He talked to us, the player, about stuff. He offered his emotions with others. He existed as a character in this narrative world. And then he went away forever, allegedly.
Doing,
going out like a G, too. He's like, oh, you guys are fucked if I don't go away. I'm going to sacrifice myself. No, Dr. Robin, don't do that.
He's like, it's been great, y'all. Bye. As he goes off with that stupid, goofy grin, as he always has.
And so we still feel this kind of like back and forth of this cycle, right? Yeah, I don't know about that part. There's definitely a thing, Axe, where you don't always. I don't know if you talk to too many people, but there are times when you get like confused about plot points and run with this interpretation, and it sometimes has absolutely confused your both literal understanding and emotional understanding of story points. This is why I always tell people to be wary of translations, for instance, not as a specific Axe problem, but like people on the internet are full of lies. Be careful about making your judgments and stuff. Wait for reliable sources. Like I don't hardly know nothing from nobody about the upcoming the current story beat, and just like, but I'll find out later, and I'll find out for sure when it gets translated into English and it gets delivered to me that way, right? Yes. Like. I don't even necessarily trust 100% of the fragments I have of stuff that's been out in JP for a while. I'm like, no, I'll see what's up for sure when it comes to me in my native language, and I can trust these people have verified this story and translated it correctly. Thank you, Robin, for the callback. Robin did a great Robin sarcasm. Don't know what you're talking about. Lantern Morgan's guaranteed 100%. Yep. Nope, you were there. We made that joke earlier. This may have also... This was probably when Robin was in regular Let's Talk and not patron chat that I absolutely made that callback as well. But now it's okay, Robin. It's a callback joke. But yeah, so like with individual characters and emotional responses, Acts, like that should not necessarily surprise you because people build relationships on a character-to-character basis, right? I don't build a relationship to Romani as just, oh, this is the character I feel sad about. I build a relationship with Romani as a character as like a mentor figure, an explainer, and then ultimately kind of like this heroic thing, and then it kind of goes down. Well, you got to be careful about when you want to unpack stuff, Acts. Like. There are times when you unpacking stuff is spoilers for people who aren't done with the story and aren't ready to unpack those things. You got to be careful. Time and place, like Suna said. You got to pick your moment. Like, obviously, yes, I understand. You might want to unpack some shit, but like, you can't hold other people hostage to unpack shit. That's not how interactions work. If somebody's like, whoa, I'm not ready to unpack those feelings. I'm not caught up yet. You can't be like, but I must unpack now. But yeah, no, like it's the same with the Lostbelts. Like, yes, Lostbelts are very similar responses, and we build these relationships with these characters, and then by necessity, we have to leave them, allegedly.
Yeah, because most of these Lostbelts, these people that we meet are not necessarily doing any wrong. They're just living their lives their best we can, and we're here to fuck it up. And, this is where we come in.
But also, like, hey, once again, I would like to remind us, every Lostbelt does take the point to establish that this world we're in is fucked up in very different ways every time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm very curious for how Lostbelt 5 will be handled, but it's in 2 parts, so we'll see. I don't even know if we're going to see how fucked up the world is in Atlantis, right? Like, because the second part is titled Olympus. I don't even know if we get to the actual fucking plot in a whole part of the Lostbelt. We'll see.
Well, I think, like, if I can understand this, I'm pretty sure that the first half is us just trying to get there, and I think fucking the first part is just... I think the first part's going to be like Okeanos, where we just, like, hang out in the ocean, go to some islands, fight some monsters.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's round out this big, long episode. I mean, I do think her character design is a little weird. They go very ham on the big eyes. Sorry, Axe just brought up that her eyes are a little nerve-wracking. Like, it is true, her character design is quite different from other people. Like, a lot of the other villagers are, I think, drawn by, like, Takeuchi, probably. Like, they have kind of a similar style. Not as much flair. Very down to earth. But yeah, so, let's wrap this up by doing what we usually do. And let's do a big boy breakdown of our Cryptor, because, man, we see a lot of this motherfucker in the Lostbelt, and I love it.
I love Pepe.
So, Pepe's a great character. What can we say about Pepe? Well, we know that Scandinavia Peppercino, spoilers, Spicy Peppers is not his name. Even though he would absolutely fit in as a JoJo character.
Mm-hmm.
His command seals are literally a kiss. But I think the early thing is, we mentioned this earlier talking about it, but Lucky said it in a very great way, but because it's one of his Buddhist superpowers, yeah, he has those. But Pepe understands like himself completely. Like, he is at perfect peace with who he is as a person and never feels like weird or doubtful about it. Like, he's just like, nope, I am who I am. Don't need to feel weird about it. I'm self-actualized, as they like to say.
I think this is one of the things that really solidified how he thinks like that, is when he turns, like, spoilers, when he turns out that, no, he's actually really good at killing because of his Shigindo abilities. He's like, no, I don't like killing, but also, I don't hate it either.
It is a thing he knows how to do. He's perfectly comfortable with it, and he'll do it.
Yes. And that's kind of how he is. He's good at reading the situation, and he knows when to speak up, and he knows when to be quiet. Usually he speaks up, though. He likes talking. Man, he likes talking. And he kind of is one of those characters, I think, who talks as a way to mask things. Very good at directing conversations, and I think they actually said that he's a mood maker. He makes the mood. I think that's what they say in his profile.
Yeah, but he basically has great senses. He has great self realization, right? He has powerful martial skills. He can also be very subtle. I believe turning invisible is a very common Buddhist superpower described. But he can read people. He can sense things. I don't think they show that he can walk on water, but I wouldn't be surprised if he can walk on water, right?
All right.
But he's in tune with himself and other people, and this gives him a lot of interesting abilities. Yeah, I think I found the list of the higher knowledges. Because one of them is remember one's previous lives or casual memory, but that's also the way they phrase it in this is that he has perfect awareness of himself. The other abilities are walking on water or walking through walls, high powers, divine ear, clairaudience, and telepathy as well, and then knowing others' karma and removal of mental intoxicants. That sounds like the kind of powers that he displays. He has very high-level perceptive abilities, and he's good at controlling himself. And like you said, he also is kind of a murder machine. When he fights the sacred beast, he's like, they're divine beasts, but I bet they still have hearts and lungs and stomachs and stuff, so I can,
just walk up and just call him off.
Yeah. If they've got a heart, I can hit it, which means they die. Punch. Yeah, and we see this kind of through his magecraft. When it talks about how he avoids stuff, he's like, oh no, I literally twist fate. I've got such a power that I can warp the world. And you see this, right? Hologram Rose, the power of love. He says that he's powered by love, for instance. Don't know how true that is, but it seems about right for Pepe.
Listen, Pepe has a theme, and it is to be fucking fabulous, and he does it very well.
Yeah. There's a very interesting thing, right? We learn all these things about his abilities, his motivation. We kind of have this interesting back and forth. He tells us a lot about the cryptors, where the nickname came from, how they all got chosen for this. This is our first time that we realized that they had a choice, but also, like we said, they had the coercion and other such things. So we learn a lot about their position as well. Oh God, Red is, sorry, I'm scrolling through Twitter. Red is still in the werewolf hole. She talked about this on the OSP podcast. She started doing some werewolf research for something. I hope for a video, and she's deep in the hole because guys, lycanthropy and stuff is weird. Okay.
Actually, I was reading a story about when I was doing some Wild Hunt research. Apparently, there might be a fucking big thing about fucking giant wolves because at some points there were just fucking apparently giant wolves terrorizing farmlands.
Yeah, wolves are wild. Yeah, I think they're on 16 episodes. They started last year.
What do they call it?
But yeah, so the extent of Pepe's ability, we see a lot of his mindset, and like we said earlier, because he's so self-aware and so good at reading people, he's very chill. He's not afraid to run away, but he's not afraid to fight back. Fuck, I don't think Pepe's afraid of anything, really. Even when he's literally staring death in the face, he's just I guess this is as far as I go. I mean, I always knew that my life wouldn't accomplish anything, but I was kind of hoping I get to live it a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
We do know that he ran away from his original family and killed them, because presumably they wanted him to do dumb bullshit magecraft stuff. Just gonna guess.
Probably.
So he ran away to the tower and then joined up with the team, where he was canonically Team A's survival guide, because he was an expert at wilderness survival and perception, and also self-defense. And think about it, man. Wouldn't it have been real nice if we had a Pepe when we were doing some of our singularities? Would have been great.
I honestly don't know how we survived some of these. I really don't.
Usually lots of servants. But just imagine the jungles of Babylonia, which are also the jungles of Mesoamerica because of how fucking weird that was, but with an actual honest-to-God survival guide. But also imagine Paisen is there, still in her weird full-body sweater, and she's just she's dying inside, but she's not really because she's an immortal vampire. But we get a lot of talks. Pepe talks with us a lot, asking us what's up, trying to suss out our character. He's trying to figure out what makes us tick, and asking the question of hey, person, are you okay killing all these dudes in these Lostbelts? And your answer is basically, I'm not really okay, but there's nothing else to be done. And Pepe's good, excellent choice, good way to look at it. Pepe spends a lot of time internal monologuing about Mash's character development. When Team A knew Mash, she was very robotic, not very into emoting. She didn't know a lot about people, know a lot about how to interact. We already kind of knew this because of how, one, I think Ophelia described herself as the closest to Mash, and I mean, Ophelia was a weirdo. She had kind of her own thing going. But also, from how she described it, she also wasn't really, gal pals with Akuta, with Paisen, after all. So it tracks. Pepe also makes sure to know that, like, he wonders what Beryl would think of Mash, because Beryl was so interested in Mash because of the way she used to be. Hopefully we'll see that elucidated on later, possibly when we punch Beryl in the face. In his stupid smug face. That is also a meme I made today. I put Beryl's cutout because they gave us one on the Smugger on Mox me picture. But, yeah, so Pepe's just great because of his social awareness, I guess, his emotional intelligence, that you have a lot of honest conversations with this guy, and it's really good. Because it builds his character, and also it helps other characters build their character. Pepe's just so cool. Like, I really didn't feel betrayed when he quote unquote turned on us in the end. It's like, nah, you do what you do, man.
No, like, I kind of felt like, I kind of wish, like, we could have, like, emoted that better, because when Pepe does it, I think that the character options make you seem more surprised. And I was like, no, I totally saw this coming.
Yeah, I read it not necessarily as surprised, but me kind of resigned. Like, one of your dialogue options are, like, one's maybe a little more surprising than the other is just like, come on, Pepe, get out of the way. Like, please move. And he's like, no, I'm still a crypter. I'm not moving. This is our thing. This is the thing we do, guys. This is how this works. And we're like, okay, all right, okay. We'll do it. We'll do the thing.
Mm-hmm. And, because that's the thing, like, Pepe never, like, again, I think I don't know, like, the best way to say it. Well, he never really presents himself as, I guess, your ally, but never, enforces himself as your enemy either. He's like,
he always is careful to never betray the foreign god or the cryptors. He's like,
yes,
listen, my Lostbelt King's out of whack, and I've lost my servants, so clearly I'm gonna get erased too, so we need to work together.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna, like, sell out my friends or talk about any shit other than my Lostbelt. Now, some of that is because I think there's things that he doesn't know, because he's the first to point out, like, hey, a certain alter ego's here, and he's fucking shit up, and it's a little weird.
Yeah, Pepe definitely drops some hints. I don't know I can't remember if this was internal monologue or he actually says it, but that the cryptors and the alter egos aren't on maybe the same side, and that's a little sus.
Yes, and he also wonders, I believe, internally about the structure of the game. He's like, listen, Odame, I know you gave us the rules and we all agreed to join, but, like, this is a little weird. What's actually happening here? Like, I've gotten the impression now, especially because David showed up, that I'm like, I don't know if any of the cryptors are actually on the alien god's side. Like, yeah, Odame volunteered to work for the alien god, but also, it's true, the cryptors have never met the foreign god. They just know that it exists as a weird light thing. But, like, Wodaime has the best Lostbelt position, but also he's not really proactive about, like, ordering anybody to counter us, and even he doesn't seem to command the alter egos, right? Like, he's still doing his own thing in his own Lostbelt, so it's like, are any of these guys, like, truly on the foreign god's side, or is this all just an alliance of convenience, you know?
Actually, now that I think about it, none of the Lostbelts have actually been expanding, have they?
I believe that 5 is expanding, but because it's expanding over the Atlantic Ocean, it's not touching anybody else yet. Which I can absolutely see Wodaime arranging BT dubs.
Because, like, in 1, they're kind of stuck because
the tree hasn't even hardly taken root, right?
And 2 is kind of the same thing. The tree's taken root, but, there's weird shit happening. 3,
the tree is straight up hidden. Now, it's fucking huge when we do find it, but it's been slowly kind of, like, growing and stabilizing and has been explicitly not expanding.
Yeah, and, like, 4, like, on one hand, it seems like all these situations are out of their control, but for some odd reason, I do find it a little weird that in all these situations, these trees are not actually in a good position to compete.
Yeah, somebody just put it in chat. Lostbelt 4 was expanding and contracting for reasons, because it's, like, constantly shifting. Well, Lostbelt 6, the one that's active now, is just so fucking weird and unnatural. Like, we explicitly see it's not surrounded by a storm wall, it's surrounded by a wall of light. Like, something weird is going on there that's not functional. And I don't think we've even bothered, because it's so far away, to observe Lostbelt 7. And 5 is the hugest. I don't know if it's actively still expanding, though it certainly sounds like it could be, right? Like, At one point, Wodaime calls back Canis so she can come back and do some work. By the way, I do want to throw out there, with my ash poles, this means that I am now 4 for 4 on Cryptor Servants. I acquired Anastasia, Sigurd, Prince of Landling, and now Ash, so I'm hoping that means that the trend continues and I get my Canis without too much trouble. Only got one Lostbelt King so far, though, which is very interesting. Only the Big Mothman has showed up for me. And I think I've done at least a couple of rolls, not like gone to the bone, but I've rolled on every Lostbelt King's banner at least a couple of times, other than probably Ivan, and even then I threw some tickets for Salieri's. It's very interesting. Anyway. But yeah, like, I'm like, I don't know if the foreign god has explained enough of its goals that people are on its side, other than the disciples, who aren't on each other's side either, really. Like, it's so weird. This setup is really interesting, and I like how dynamic it makes everybody, but man, it's very confusing. I hope this gets cleared up in maybe our next releases. Or
like, I do not know where the alliances, where alliances fall here. I really don't.
Like, for instance, think about this. Like, Ophelia is probably the most legit crypter trying to crypter, right?
Right.
She's not fucking with her rules anyway. She's trying to convince her Lostbelt King to expand the world, but she's tampered because of her circumstances. But Ophelia's not loyal to the foreign god. She's loyal to Wodaime.
Yep, and she's doing what Wodaime told her to do.
And she deliberately hurts herself by not cluing Wodaime into things that are going wrong in her Lostbelt because she doesn't want to disappoint him. Kadok is trying his best, but he's also, like, not necessarily playing by the rules. And we saw that his tree didn't go anywhere because he didn't do stuff with Ivan. And the observer cuts down, the alien lady cuts down his tree, like, when the time is up. Like, we punch the tree, and the tree didn't even open up to reveal a galaxy, so it's a whole thing. And, like, we know how 3 went. 3 was very recent and it was very weird. Fucking Akuda called them up to be like, hey guys, I quit, bye. And Beryl has talked about how his Lostbelt is weird. I don't know what his opinions are. Beryl screams token chaotic evil teammate to me. Like, I'm fairly certain Beryl is and always has been on Beryl's side, and he gives no fucks.
Pretty sure Beryl's a serial killer in some way or fashion.
So, like, yeah, I'm sure Marsbury picked him for some reason, but it could just be that reason that he is not afraid to murder motherfuckers in space-time, you know? That's a job you need, as we've seen from our singularities and our Lostbelts. You do need somebody who's willing to just cap a motherfucker.
Assassination specialist?
Yeah, like, he might, you know, we've had to fight some very serious guys with some very serious skill sets. Yeah, Axe put it a good way. He could be the trigger man for Team A, and I would believe it. I would believe he's the guy that can absolutely pull some triggers. Hell, I think he pulls too many triggers, probably.
So anyway, I started blasting?
Yeah. God, that would be a great meme edit. Just put the transparency of Beryl in there. So anyway, I started blasting.
I missed.
Yes, he does talk about how his Lostbelt is so fucked up that he can easily kill people and nobody bats an eyelid, is I think how he phrases it. Which is something that David also agrees with. He's like, yeah, my Lostbelt's also fucked up and primitive and nobody gives a shit either. But then honestly, we meet David and he's weird.
Now that I think about David, I think David was just honestly just talking honestly. He's like, yeah, no, it's weird, huh?
Yeah, like, and I think that he was doing it because he clearly saw that Beryl was excited about this, and he's like, oh, Beryl gives a shit about this. Yes, I will agree with him. My Lostbelt is similar. Like, he could just have been stating facts. I don't know.
He's just trying to have a conversation.
He's the last guy, he's the last Lostbelt we have to go to, and the last crypter we have to face, so we're gonna... I think there will be some interesting swerves there, but let's not speculate too much on that. The show is very long. So, Pepe's real great. I love him. I hope... I could see that the way you phrase that, Axe. Like, I know that's kind of... not in a meme or hateful way. Like, I could see if he had a little bit of the autistic brain, right? Like, he is so disconnected to people that he has to, like, kind of try and find his own way to relate to them because he's so geniusy, so tense. I could see it. But we'll see what happens when we talk with him more. Like, he's a great mystery because we haven't interacted with him a lot. But from what we've seen of him are very different. Like you mentioned earlier, he seemed pretty gung-ho about killing people at first, but then we meet him and he's just like, whatever. Hey, Pepe, how you doing? But yeah, Pepe's a great character. I can't wait to run into him again. I'm glad that he survived. I did notice when he absolutely called out whoever wrote this chapter called out the other FGO writers or possibly themselves that only the female cryptors died. Disposable woman, what? Though with, obviously, like I said, with Pysen, she could come back at any time because she has an excuse. But also, they haven't done that yet, so the story treats her like she's dead. With Ophelia, I think that was a power thing, because if Ophelia just straight up joined our team, that would be too easy. With her magic eyes.
I don't know if she could. I don't know if she could actually go against Wodaime.
It's true, but she could absolutely have been like, man, my Lostbelt's real fucked up, and, oh, you broke it? Well, I guess.
Maybe just...
All right, Axe, don't... you, for someone who doesn't get upset about things, you really talk about Olga Mary as the sacrificial lion a lot, yes. Yeah, it happened, so, it was a long time ago.
If Ophelia, I mean, it still makes me sad, but, well, I don't know, I guess I'm
sad, but, like, I don't feel the need to still be, like, bitter or all right, Axe, very judgy. Where's your mobile game with 20 million downloads, huh? Winning awards, being number 1 in the App Store. Popularity is its own reward sometimes, guys. A lot of people like to armchair, right? Like they like right. to call shots, and I'm like, all right, motherfucker, where's yours? At the very least, this thing is popular and successful. So what should you
don't need it.
I don't know how big Nasu is. It started with some dudes in some basements, basically.
Yeah.
That's why early FJO is kind of jank, and there are some bad elements of the plot, because it was a little sketch, but it's still super popular and successful, so, let's be careful about throwing stones in glass houses. Like, I mean, it's a very classic trope, and you gotta be careful with tropes. If you use them too much, they can get cliche, they can get overwrought, but, like, I don't feel like it was an unnecessary plot element, because remember, it puts us on the back foot. We lost the director. That means Romani has to take charge, and Da Vinci has to take charge, which puts us in our weird, fucked up starting situation. Yeah. It also gives us a reason to slap the shit out of Lovelaner. But, I'm glad Pepe's still around. I hope he comes back. Fuck, I still hope Kata comes back. Like, I know he's just chilling in Lostbelt 5. I hope he's a recurring character. This is the thing that OSP is big about that I've come to realize. When you kill characters, you kind of cut off all their future character development stuff, and, Ophelia has a complete arc in her story that ends with her dying, but, I'm glad for a lot of these characters we can still see them and they can come back later. So, we'll see what happens.
I might need other cryptos. Also, Pepe did fucking just know that fucking Akita was not human.
Yeah, that was his super perception powers.
But I still might need to see fucking the other cryptos' reaction to Akita just being my servant now and just being like,
maybe they'll bust that out in whatchamacallit, like Lostbelt 7. Like that's when plot wise, we're in a sea of trees or something. We're in a perfected state of nature where humans are no longer the dominant species or whatever the fuck, and it's probably full of dinosaurs or something dumb. What do we need? Oh, let's get an ancient immortal fairy to show up. And she's just like, dude, what the fuck? Why did you call me? And we just be like, I don't know, call the counterforce. And she's like, alright, I will. She picks up her counterforce phone. Oi. The number you have dialed is not connected. Please try again.
Honestly, once we get done with Lostbelt 7, I guarantee they're going to do some fucking Time Temple of Solomon bullshit.
Oh, yeah, no, I was talking about that before with some other people about, the characterization. I think it's pretty clear that not only do we have, these last couple of Lostbelts are going to be very text-heavy, but if the end of Lostbelt 5 Part 2 is the halfway point, one, there will be some more Lostbelt 5.5 type situations, but also there absolutely will be a big showy confrontation. We're going to cut down all the trees, and then the alien god's going to be like, cool, you cut down my trees, but the earth is still fucked. Now you must fight me in the final battle.
I still think
your reality is the last Lostbelt.
I still think we're going back to Fuyuki.
There's some interesting parallels. I wouldn't be shocked. Glad they brought back Cascu as well. Tying up things.
Not necessarily a random idea, Axe. I've been talking about that idea for a while.
Yeah, we are time cops. I joked about this earlier when talking about Lostbelt 4's storyline, but no, we actually use time travel to solve a problem for once, as opposed to just be the setting in which we solve problems. So, yeah, I would not be shocked if we do more time cop shit. Yeah.
Because, again, I mentioned this, the texture of the world is just overwritten and gone. And we don't know that actually destroying the trees is going to put it back. We might have to stop this.
We need Old Man K-Scope to give us a lift back to earlier in the timeline.
Oh, man, what if they actually do pull that?
I mean, that'd be pretty cool. He hasn't shown up, but I do believe canonically in Strange Fake, he is checking out a thing that is also happening in South America or Central America. So, if he, showed up as our plot coupon in Lostbelt 7 and was like, alright, cool, you've stopped the alien god's plan, but the timeline is still fucked. Now must you go back to the other timeline and unfuck the timeline. And that would be actually a really interesting challenge run, because it would give us an excuse, much like all those Demon Pillar bosses, to make us fight all the trees again, right?
Yeah.
If we fight them before they take root, we could even refight some cryptors. We could have a chance to undo the deaths of certain cryptors,
Yeah. No, we have to go into space and fight them before they even land.
Oh, well, of course, we gotta go to space. Activate our space... Well, actually, we already have a spacesuit mystic code. Captain Caldea. We can make it plot relevant. We shoot up into space.
So clearly that's going to be the Shadow Border's final form. Is going to be a spaceship.
Yeah, this is absolutely just a Gurren Lagann thing. we put the Nautilus in a rocket ship. We shoot the rocket ship into space. We shoot the Nautilus out of the rocket ship. Then we shoot the Shadow Border out of the Nautilus. Then we shoot Mash out of the Shadow Border. And she shoots the alien god in the face. Bonk.
Great.
Time is saved.
Trigger, animate this.
The OP plays in the background.
The OP better play in the background. That's all I'm saying.
Also, by the way, this Lostbelt had good hecking sound. Good themes. I love the switch from a peaceful theme to when it gets to the Destruction Yuga. There's just some dude wailing on an electric guitar in the background.
Also, yes, Neil Armstrong is canonically a servant. This was
at least an extra, but yes.
Yes.
Moon Cancer, Neil Armstrong went.
I guess it would be a Moon Cancer because he did. I guess he did like.
He landed on the moon.
Yeah, no, and by landing on the moon, he removed some of the mystique. Probably removed some of the mystery. That's Moon Cancer, like moon.
There's a lot of interesting things the plot will go, and we'll see where things are unfolding. Because, like, arguably, Lostbelt 6 should be a side story, right? Like, 5 was the big one. By defeating that, and however we managed to accomplish that, no spoilers in comments, please. However we managed to accomplish that, other than the fact that we know that Beryl is still fine, and Pepe is also fine because he's chilling in the Lostbelt, right?
Right.
Like, it's arguably a side story, so clearly something happens in 5 where we decide we need to go punch, much like how 3 got set up, we need to go punch Beryl next. And it honestly seems like it's a lot more, like, personal story. Like, there are a lot of different story sprites I've seen for MASH. She shows heavily in the timeline, right? It's a long, so I'm hoping it's kind of like a good character build focus, but it seems like a lot of weird shit is going on that's just, like, really fucking, like, even for Lostbelt, shit's weird. So we'll see what happens. How long before Lostbelt 5? For us, it was the December story event. I assume it will be the same.
And there it is, folks, the big chungus you were promised. There was quite a bit of repeating of thoughts and stopping of starting sentences, but that just goes to show you how excited we were about Lostbelt 4. We had a lot to say. We were very enthused. Hopefully this enthusiasm will keep up, and I am looking forward to Lostbelt 5 Part 1, which you should be excited to look forward to as well, because that's when I know for a fact we started organizing our notes better, so hopefully our thoughts get more concrete and less repeaty. So make sure to like this video and subscribe and ring the bell so you can catch when we do that Lostbelt 5 Part 1. Before we get on out of here, I would like to give a quick shout out to our patrons who help make this possible, such as Adam DeHarp, Blackest OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, Ferris, Fight Icebird, Jeremy Vasquez, JDV9000, Joshua LaFay, Jonathan Sandoval, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Charvor, Sean Pryor, some guy named Bob, and Varen the Crow. And remind you that you can support us on Patreon and with your YouTube memberships by clicking various buttons in the description and around the video. And it really helps us out. Don't have to support a lot. You can get the audio of this for just $1 a month. And who doesn't have $1, you know? Anyway, be seeing you next time. Thanks so much, guys.